Hello everybody, welcome to Forever Conscious Research and Lawn Mowing Channel. Hope you're doing well today. Anyways, if anyone needs any lawn mowing services or weed whacking services, please leave a comment. I'll be happy to help you out. Good discounts for services here. Alright, I just got to check the audio really quick. I hope you're all doing well out there. Hopefully this lawnmower isn't picking up too much. Of course it would. I thought it was gone and picked right up the second I hit to go live. So one moment. Okay, so we left off at, I believe it was case 23. If the lawnmower is too loud, please let me know. Looks like they're almost done in the backyard over there, but I swear to God. Alright, one moment here. I think it was case 23 is where we left off last. Now what I did is I queued it up so we are is that in there? So we're basically going to rewind just about, it was about two and a half, maybe 3 minutes from the previous one, because we were having a little bit of difficulty there towards the end, so I didn't want to I wanted it to flow right as best we can. So let me just test the audio on my end with the book, and looks like the audio is okay for my mic, and then we'll be good to go. So just bear with me one more minute here and we'll be good to go. Okay, let me mute that.
Who our company leaders go to for advice and direction. Subject: 1. We all go to Kumara to exchange observations and seek ways of improvement. Dr. N: How many souls like you and Waru does Kumara oversee? Subject: Oh, I couldn't know that.
Okay, that looks good. So okay, let me just rewind that, and we're gonna get started. 3538, 3538. Okay. Alright, we're good to go. So I'm going to keep myself muted for the most part for a few minutes. I may drop in and say a couple things, but I'd prefer not to have that lawnmower feedback in your ears as much as possible if you're picking up any of it. So again, we are continuing on with case 23. Welcome, brothers and sisters, and let's continue to go over this insanity that helps expose the Matrix Reincarnation Soul trap. From the book Journey of Souls, Michael Newton. This is part 5 of a multi-part series.
Dr. N: How many superior entities do you and your friends who are company leaders go to for advice and direction? Subject: 1. We all go to Kumara to exchange observations and seek ways of improvement. Dr. N: How many souls like you and Waru does Kumara oversee? Subject: Oh, I couldn't know that. Dr. N: Try and give an estimate of the number. Subject, after reflection: At least 50, probably more. Additional inquiries into Kamara's spiritual activities were fruitless, so I turned next to Thesa's creation training. Her experiences, which I have condensed, take us a little further than those training exercises described by Nentham in the last chapter. To those listeners with a scientific bent, I want to stress that when a subject is reporting to me about creation, their frame of reference is really not grounded in earth science. I have to make the best interpretations I can from the information provided. Dr. N. The curriculum for souls seems to have great variety, These. I want to go into another aspect of your training. Does your energy utilize the properties of light, heat, and motion in the creation of life?
The curriculum.
Subject, startled. You know about that? Dr. N. What more can you tell me? Subject, only that I am familiar with this. Dr. N. I don't want to talk about anything which will make you uncomfortable, but I would appreciate your confirmation of certain biological effects resulting from the actions of souls. Subject hesitates. Oh, I don't think... Dr. N. I jump in quickly. What creation have you recently done which makes Kumara proud of you? Subject, without resistance. I am proficient with fish. Dr. N. I follow up with a deliberate exaggeration to keep her going. Oh, so you can create a whole fish with your mental energy? Subject, vexed. You must be kidding. Dr. N. Then where do you start? Subject. With the embryos, of course. I thought you knew. Dr. N. Just checking. When do you think you will be ready for mammals? Subject. No answer. Dr. N. Look, These, if you will try to cooperate with me for a few more minutes, I promise not to take long with my questions on this subject. Will you agree to that?
Interesting line of questioning, I guess, about what they know, where what they're saying about all this. Sorry, the lawnmower lost my train of thought.
Subject, pause. We will see. Dr. N. Okay. As a means of basic clarification, tell me what you actually do with your energy to develop life up to the stage of fish. Subject, reluctantly. We give instructions to organisms within the surrounding conditions. Dr. N. Do you do this on one world or many in your training? Subject. More than one. Would not elaborate except to say these planets were Earth types. Dr. N. In what kind of environment are you working now? Subject. In oceans. Dr. N. With basic sea life such as algae and plankton? Subject. When I started. Dr. N. You mean before you worked up to the embryos of fish? Subject. Yes. Dr. N. Then when souls start to create forms of life, they begin with microorganisms? Subject. Small cells, yes. And this is very difficult to learn. Dr. N. Why? Subject. The cells of life. Our energy cannot become proficient unless we can direct it to alter molecules. Dr. N. Then you are actually producing new chemical compounds by mixing the basic molecular elements of life by your energy flow? Subject nods. Dr. N. Can you be more explicit? Subject. No, I can't. Dr. N. Let me try and sum this up, and please tell me if I am on the wrong track. A soul who becomes proficient with actually creating life must be able to split cells and give DNA instructions, and you do this by sending particles of energy into protoplasm? Subject. We must learn to do this, yes, coordinating it with a sun's energy. Dr. N. Why? Subject. Because each sun has different energy effects on the worlds around them. Dr. N. then why would you interfere with what a sun would naturally do with its own energy on a planet? Subject: it is not interference. We examine new structures, mutations, to watch and see what is workable. We arrange substances for their most effective use with different suns. Dr. N: when a species of life evolves on a planet, are the environmental conditions for selection and adaptation natural?
Different suns, different stars, if you think of it in that term, those terms as well. Because we know that the control structure down here in the physical bases much of what they do off of alignments, stars, planets, excuse me, etc. So the mechanisms in place may very well gear certain things towards certain results based on those stars, or in this case they're saying suns. So just wanted to throw that out there as something to think about. Could be dealing with just complete manipulation in this particular this whole statement. I have no clue, but just something to think about.
Or are intelligent soul minds tinkering with what happens? Subject, evasively: usually a planet hospitable to life has souls watching, and whatever we do is natural. Dr. N: how can souls watch and influence biological properties of growth evolving over millions of years on a primordial world? Subject: time is not in Earth years for us. We use it to suit our experiments. Dr. N: do you personally create suns in our universe? Subject: a full-scale sun? Oh no, that's way over my head, and requires the powers of many. I generate only on a small scale. Dr. N: what can you generate? Subject: small bundles of highly concentrated matter, heated. Dr. N: but what does your work look like when you are finished? Subject: small solar systems. Dr. N: are your miniature suns and planets the size of rocks, buildings, the moon? What are we talking about here? Subject laughs: my suns are the size of basketballs, and the planets, marbles. That's the best I can do.
You know, you think about this, it goes to, there's two points that could be thrown out here. One is you have, first off, the person, the soul, is creating at the behest of something else. We know that much. The second thing is, Night Sky and I were talking about this in a private conversation the other day, and you know, they have these mini virtual realities that, you know, we can even go into when we astral project, in the dream world, etc. And some of them, you know, are, well, I would say actually most of them are, you know, destinations that have already been created and feed into the illusion. Just like society is fed into the illusion about everything related to space and everything that comes along with that insanity. You know, with NASA and SpaceX and every single space agency on Earth. So it would only make sense that they have these worlds set up, these mini realms that continue to feed off of the narratives that are being pushed here. So it's like a crossover, you know, everything's kind of moving and flowing between worlds to stay in line and to keep the illusion running in the mind, the perception, you know, everything, you know, the manipulation and perception, manipulation of perception, is just, it flows. That's kind of where I'm going at with it. So,
Dr. N, why do you do this on a small scale? Subject, for practice, so I can make larger suns. After enough compression, the atoms explode and condense, but I can't do anything really big alone. Dr. N, what do you mean? Subject, we must learn to work together to combine our energy for the best results. Dr. N, well, who does the full-size thermonuclear explosions which create physical universes in space itself? Subject, the source, the concentrated energy of the old ones. Dr. N, oh, so the source has help? Subject, I think so. Dr. N, why is your energy striving to create universal matter and more complex life when Kumara and the entities above her are already proficient? Subject, we are expected to join them, just as they wish to unite their accomplished energy with the old ones. Creation questions always evoke the issue of first cause. Was the exploding interstellar mass which caused the birth of our stars and planets an accident of nature or planned by an intelligent force? When I listen to subjects such as Thies, I ask myself why souls would be practicing the chain reactions of energy matter with models on a small scale, if they were not intending to make larger celestial bodies. I have had no subjects in level 6 and above to substantiate how they might carry the forces of creation further. It would seem if souls do progress, then entities at this level could be expected to involve themselves with the birthing of planets and the development of life forms capable of higher intelligence suitable for soul use. After pondering why less than perfect souls are associated with creation at all, I came to the following conclusion. All souls are given the opportunity to participate in the development of lower forms of intelligent life in order to advance themselves.
they are allowed to participate. They're allowed. You know, we have the structure, which, you know, right at the beginning of the series we saw that, and right at the beginning of today's video we've seen that over and over again as well. Just consistently, you know, you're lower than whatever the hell's, you know, you're learning off of, or whatever school or teacher you're involved with. You got to be knocked down a peg. You don't deserve to use all your abilities that the Creator instilled in you. Ugh.
This principle could also be applied to the reason why souls incarnate in physical form. Thies suggested that the supreme intelligence she calls the Source is made up of a combination of creators, the Old Ones, who fuse their energy to spawn universes. The thought has been expressed to me in different ways by other subjects when they describe the combined power of non-reincarnating old souls. This concept is not new. For instance, the idea we have no single Godhead is the philosophy of the Jainist sect in India. The Jains believe fully perfected souls, called Siddhas, are a group of universal creators. These souls are fully liberated from further transmigrations. Below them are the Arhat souls, advanced illuminators who still incarnate along with 3 more lower gradations.
Advanced illuminators. Hear that? Advanced illuminators who do not reincarnate because, you know, they're better than you. So, you know, we you know, they get to enjoy an earth-free life where they're not, you know, tortured and abused and put through this ridiculous system. They get the free pass. They're the manipulators. They're some of the ones at the top. That's what's being conveyed here.
Of evolving souls. To the Jains, reality is uncreated and eternal. Thus, the Siddhas need no creator. Most Eastern philosophies deny this tenet of Jainism in favor of a divine board of directors created by a chairman. This conclusion is more palatable to the Western mind as well. With certain subjects, it is possible to pursue a wide range of topics in condensed periods. Earlier, Thies had alluded to intelligent life existing on other worlds when she talked about a soul's cosmic training. This brings up another aspect about soul life, which may be hard for some of us to accept. A small percentage of my subjects, usually the older advanced souls, are able to recall being in strange, non-human, intelligent life forms on other worlds. Their memories are rather fleeting and clouded about the circumstances of these lives, the physical details, and planetary location.
So, memories are clouded, lacking details. All sounds familiar, doesn't it? Again, like we discussed, I think in the last video and maybe a couple of the other ones, we went over how there's likely multiple material existences, possibly even carbon copies of Earth itself, maybe with some slight adjustments, different terraforming to an extent. That's all speculation, of course, but with a place this sophisticated, this big, this high tech, with this much control, it would only make sense that there's multiple realms of a material nature. We know there's tons of astral realms, tons. But as far as material realms, there's got to be a number of those too.
Relative to our universe. I wondered if Thies had any such experiences long ago, so I opened up this line of inquiry for a few minutes to see where it might lead. Dr. N. A while back, you remarked about other physical worlds besides Earth, which are available to souls. Subject, hesitant. Yes. Dr. N. Casually. And I assume some of these planets support intelligent life, which are useful to souls wishing to incarnate. Subject. That's true, there are many schoolyards. Dr. N. Do you ever talk to other souls about their planetary schoolyards? Subject. Long pause. It's not my inclination to do so. I'm not attracted to them, the other schools. Dr. N. Perhaps you could give me some idea of what they're like? Subject.
You gotta ask the question, doesn't like them or not allowed?
Oh, some are analytical schools. Others are basically mental worlds, subtle places. Dr. N. What do you think of the Earth School by comparison? Subject. The Earth School is insecure still. It is filled with resentment of many people over being led and antagonism of the leaders toward each other.
Whoa, let's rewind that one. Oh, whoa, whoa. Just gonna rewind it a little bit.
Some are analytical schools. Others are basically mental worlds, subtle places. Dr. N. What do you think of the Earth School by comparison? Subject. The Earth School is insecure still. It is filled with resentment of many people over being led and antagonism of the leaders toward each other. There is so much fear to overcome here. It is a world in conflict because there's too much diversity among too many people.
It's too much diversity amongst people and anger and resentment and blah, blah, blah. Well, guess what? The damn control system's the one that provides that to us on a platter, by design.
Other worlds have low populations with more harmony. Earth's population has outpaced its mental development. Dr. N. Would you rather be training on another planet, then? Subject. No. For all Earth's quarreling and cruelty, there is passion and bravery here.
Oh yeah, and that makes up for the insanity and just the sickness of it all.
I like working in crisis situations. Bring order out of disorder.
Order out of chaos. Isn't that an interesting one? They basically threw in there slightly different wordage, but we can read between the lines clearly with that.
We all know Earth is a difficult school. Dr. N. So the human body is not an easy host for souls? Subject. There are easier life forms who are less in conflict with themselves. Dr. N. Well, how would you know this unless your soul had been in another life form? After I had provided this suitable opening, Thies began talking about being a small flying creature in an alien environment on a dying world where it was hard to breathe. From her descriptions, the sun of this planet was apparently going into a nova stage.
Okay, now, what for those of you who have been down Alien Highway and all this, I mean, I'm saying, like, you know, looked into aliens, things like that, and that whole crap that comes along in the form of disinformation and just flat-out propaganda. This is a great example of something we've heard in the past. Oh, a nova came, the sun was dying, there was a nuclear war on Mars, blah, 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 blah. It's this, isn't it funny how the same narratives, or very similar narratives, are being presented in this form as well?
Her words were halting and came in short, rapid breaths. Thies said she lived on this world in a humid jungle with a night sky so densely packed with stars there were no dark lanes in between. This gave me the impression she was located near the center of a galaxy, perhaps our own. She also said her brief time on this world was spent as a very young soul, and Kumara was her mentor. After the world could no longer support life, they had come to Earth to continue working together. I was told there was a kinship in the mental evolution of life on Earth and what she had experienced before. This flying race of people began afraid, isolated, and dangerous to each other. Also, like Earth, family alliances were important, representing expressions of loyalty and devotion. While I was concluding this line of questioning, there was a further development. Dr. N. So do you think there are other souls on Earth who also had physical lives on this now-dead world? Subject paused, then unable to restrain herself. Actually, I have met one. Dr. N. Under what circumstances? Subject laughs. I met a man at a party a while ago. He recognized me. Not physically, but with the mind. It was an odd meeting. I was caught off balance when he came up to me and took my hand. I thought he was pushy when he said he knew me. Dr. N. Then what happened? Subject softly. I was in a daze, which is unusual for me. I knew there was something between us. I thought it was sexual. Now I can see it all clearly. It was Ikak. This name is spoken with a clacking noise from the back of her throat. He told me we were once together from a place far away, and there were a couple of others here. Dr. N. Did he say anything more about them? Subject, faintly. No. I wonder. I ought to know them. Dr. N. Did Ikak say anything else about your former physical relationship on this world? Subject. No. He saw I was confused. I didn't know what he was talking about then anyway. Dr. N. How could he consciously know about this planet when you didn't? Subject, puzzled. He is ahead of me. He knows Kumara. Then more to herself than me. What is he doing here? Dr. N. Why don't you finish telling me about him at the party? Subject laughs again. I thought he was just trying to pick me up. It was awkward because I was drawn to him. He said I was very attractive, which is something men don't usually say to me. There were flashes in my mind that we had been together before, as fragments in a dream sequence.
Fragments,
Dr. N.
Been together, fragments, like fragments in a dream sequence. Again, this pattern presents itself. They're saying specifically here a dream sequence, but it's those connections that are instilled in us and that we cling on to, and are part of our choices when we come here and when we're out in the astral prior to coming here as well, and it's based on choice and manipulation and deception, because we're being poked and prodded by our soul group and these stupid masters.
Conversation end with this man. Subject, he saw my discomfort. I guess he thought it best to have no further contact because I haven't seen him since. I've thought about him, though. And maybe we will see each other again. I believe souls do come across time and space for each other. Recently, I had two subjects who were best friends and came to me at the same time for regression. Not only had they been soulmates in many former lives on Earth, but were also mated as fish-like intelligent beings in a beautiful water world. Both recalled the enjoyment of playing underwater with their strong appendages and coming up to the surface to peak. Neither subject could recall much about this planet or what happened to their race of sea creatures. Perhaps they were part of a failed Earth experiment long before a land mammal developed into the most promising species on Earth for souls. I suspect it was not Earth, because I have had others who tell of living in an aquatic environment they know was unearthly. One of these subjects said, "My water world was very warm and clear, because we had 3 suns overhead.
My water world was very warm and clear."
The total lack of darkness underwater was comforting, and made building our dwellings much easier. I have often wondered if the dreams we have at night about flying, breathing underwater, and performing other non-human physical feats relate to our earlier physical experiences in other environments. In the early days of my studies of souls, I half expected that those subjects who could recall other worlds would say they had lived in our galaxy within the neighborhood of the sun. This assumption was naive. Earth is in a sparse section of the Milky Way, with only 8 stars that are 10 light-years from the sun. We know our own galaxy has more than 200 billion stars, within a universe currently speculated at 100 billion galaxies. The worlds around the suns which might support life are staggering to the imagination. Consider, if only a small fraction of 1% of the stars in our galaxy had planets with intelligent life useful to souls, the number would still be in the millions. From what I can gather from subjects willing and able to discuss former assignments, souls are sent to any world with suitable intelligent life forms. Out of all the stars which are known to us, only 4% are like our sun. Apparently this means nothing to souls. Their planetary incarnations are not linked to Earth-type worlds, or with intelligent bipeds who walk on land. Souls who have been to other worlds tell me they have a fondness for certain ones and return to them, like Earth, periodically for a succession of lives. I have not had many subjects who are able to recall specific details about living on other worlds. This may be due to lack of experience, a suppression of memory, or blocks imposed by master guides to avoid any discomfort from flashbacks in non-earthly bodies. Those subjects who are able to discuss their experiences on other worlds tell me that before coming to Earth, souls are frequently placed in the bodies of creatures with less intelligence than human beings, unlike Thesa's case. However, once in a human body, souls are not sent back down the mental evolutionary ladder. Yet, physical contrasts can be stark, and side trips away from Earth are not necessarily pleasant. One mid-level client of mine expressed it this way. After a long series of human lives, I told my guide I needed a break from Earth for a while in another kind of environment. He warned me, "You might not like this change right now because you have become so accustomed to the attributes of the human mind and body." My client persisted and was duly given life on what was described as a pastel world living among a race of small, thickly set beings. They were a thoughtful but somber people, with tiny chalk-white faces which never smiled. Without human laughter and physical flexibility, I was out of sync and made little progress.
Let's just say that laughter and being able to be sarcastic at this whole existence is absolutely crucial. At least in my opinion, for my journey. I don't know about you guys, but if I couldn't laugh at how insane things were, then I probably would have lost it completely years ago, and just completely checked out, because you have to laugh, because it's just so pathetic. The whole thing is so pathetic, and just, it's sad, the whole thing. But we do have a lot of comedy attached to it because of that, of how pathetic it is. So remember, gotta laugh too. Despite how, this is a serious, it's a serious topic, we gotta laugh. We have to. Remember, still gotta make it day to day.
The assignment must have been particularly difficult for this individual when we consider that humor and laughter is such a hallmark of soul life in the spirit world. I was now approaching the final phase of my session with Case 23. It was necessary to apply additional deepening techniques, because I wanted Thies to reach into the highest recesses of her superconscious mind to talk with me about space-time and the Source. Dr. N. Thies, we are coming to the end of our time together, and I want you to turn your mind once again to the Source, Creator. Pause. Will you do that for me? Subject. Yes. Dr. N. You said the ultimate objective of souls was to seek unification with the supreme source of creative energy. Do you remember? Subject. The act of conjunction. Yes. Dr. N. Tell me, does the source dwell in some special central space in the spirit world? Subject. The source is the spirit world. Dr. N. Then why do souls speak of reaching a core of spiritual life? Subject. When we are young spirits, we sense power around us everywhere, and yet we feel we are on the edge of it. As we grow older, there is an awareness of a concentrated power, but it is the same feeling. Dr. N. Even though you have called this the place of the old ones? Subject. Yes. They are part of the concentrated power of the source which sustains us as souls. Dr. N. Well, lumping this power together as one energy source, can you describe the Creator in more human terms? Subject. As the ultimate selfless being which we strive to be. Dr. N. If the source represents all the spirit world, how does this mental place differ from physical universes with stars, planets, and living things? Subject. Universes are created to live and die for the use of the source. The place of spirits is the source. Dr. N.
Yeah, it's the feeding mechanism. That's what it is. It's the louche energy. That is the louche de jour, so to say. That is given out day to day, individual by individual, group by group, is the whole ball game, like most of us here know.
We seem to live in a universe which is expanding and may contract again and eventually die. Since we live in a space with time limitations, how can the spirit world itself be timeless? Subject. Because here we live in non-space, which is timeless, except in certain zones. Dr. N. Please explain what these zones are. Subject. They're interconnecting doors, openings for us to pass through into a physical universe of time. Dr. N. How can time doors exist in non-space? Subject. The openings exist as thresholds between realities. Dr. N. Well, if the spirit world is non-dimensional, what kind of reality is that? Subject. A constant reality state, as opposed to the shifting realities of dimensional worlds, which are material and changing. Dr. N. Do past, present, and future have any relevance for souls living in the spirit world? Subject. Only as a means of understanding succession in physical form. Living here, there is a changelessness. For those of us not crossing thresholds into a universe of substance and time. Note: a major application of time thresholds used by souls will be examined in the upcoming chapter on life selection. Dr. N., you speak of universes in the plural. Are these other physical universes besides the one which contains Earth? Subject, vaguely. There are differing realities to suit the source. Dr. N., are you saying souls can enter various rooms of different physical realities from spiritual doorways?
Different rooms to basically please the source.
Subject, nods. Yes, they can, and do. Before concluding the session with this highly advanced subject, I should add that most people who are in deep hypnosis are able to see beyond an earth reality of three-dimensional space into alternate realities of timelessness. In their subconscious state, my subjects experience a chronology of time with their past and present lives, which resembles what they perceive when conscious. There is a change when I take them into superconsciousness and the spirit world. Here they see the now of time as one homogeneous unit of past, present, and future. Seconds in the spirit world seem to represent years on Earth. When their sessions are over, clients will often express surprise at how time in the spirit world is unified. Quantum mechanics is a modern branch of physics which investigates all subatomic movement in terms of electromagnetic energy levels, where all things in life are thought to be ultimately non-solid and existing in a unified field. Going beyond Newton's physical laws of gravity, the elements of action on time are also considered to be unified by light wave frequency and kinetic energy. Since I show that souls do experience feelings of the passage of time in a chronological fashion in the spirit world, doesn't this contradict the concept of oneness for past, present, and future? No, it does not. My research indicates to me that the illusion of time progression is created and sustained for those souls coming to and from physical dimensions, who are used to such biological responses as aging, so they may more easily gauge their advancement.
And more easily be manipulated and deceived. Again, familiarity.
Thus, it makes sense to me when the quantum physicists hypothesize that time, rather than being an absolute of three phases, is only an expression of change. When my subjects speak of traveling as souls on lines which curve, I think of the space-time.
1 minute, I'm getting an error on my end. Just bear with me 1 minute here. Oh man. Alright, let me just keep it going.
Time theories of those astrophysicists who believe light and motion are a union of time and space curving back on itself. They say if space is bent severely enough, time stops. Indeed, when listening to my clients talk about time zones and tunnels of passage into different dimensions, I think about the similarities here to current astronomical theories of physical space being warped or twisted into cosmic loops creating mouths of hyperspace and black holes which may lead out of our three-dimensional universe. Perhaps the space-time concepts of astrophysics and metaphysics are edging closer together. I have suggested to my subjects that if the spirit world seems round to them and appears to curve when they travel rapidly as souls, this could represent a finite enclosed sphere. They deny the idea of any dimensional boundaries, yet offer me little else except metaphors. Case 23 says the spirit world itself is the source of creation. Some have called this place the heart or breath of God. Case 22 defined the space of souls as fabric, and I have had other subjects give the spirit world a quality of the folds of a seamless dress swishing back and forth. They sometimes feel the effects of a gently rippling motion from light energy, which has been described as waves or rings rolling outward from a disturbed pool of water. Normally, the geography of soul spaces has a smooth and open consistency to people in superconsciousness, without displaying the properties of gravity, temperature, pressure, matter, or a time clock associated with the chaotic physical universe. However, when I attempt to characterize the entire spirit world as a void, people in trance resist this notion. Although my cases are unable to fully explain the place where their souls live, they are all outspoken about its ultimate reality for them.
It's interesting, huh? Let me just rewind that briefly.
Properties of gravity, temperature, pressure, matter, or a time clock associated with the chaotic physical universe. However, when I attempt to characterize the entire spirit world as a void, people in trance resist this notion.
They resist it.
Although my cases are unable to fully explain the place where their souls live, they are all outspoken about its ultimate reality for them.
So, again, if we're to take it, it's basically explaining I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought here. Let me just let me continue here, because I'm thinking it's basically saying about what they feel their reality is, because that's what they're being told in their classes. So it's about the perception again. That's how I'm looking at it. Okay, let's continue here.
A subject in trance doesn't see the spirit world as being either near or far away from our physical universe. Nevertheless, in a curious way, they do portray spiritual substance as being light or heavy, thick or thin, and large or small, when comparing their experiences as souls to life on Earth. While the absolute reality of the spirit world appears to remain constant in the minds of people in hypnosis, their references to other physical dimensions do not. I have the sense that universes other than our own are created for the purpose of providing environments suitable for the growth of souls with beings we can't even imagine. One advanced subject told me he had lived on a number of worlds in his long existence, never dividing his soul more than twice at one time. Some adult lives lasted only months in Earth time for him, due to local planetary conditions and short lifespans of the dominant life form. While speaking of a paradise planet, with few people and a quieter, simpler version of Earth, he added this world was not far from Earth. "Oh," I interrupted, "then it must only be a few light years from Earth?" He patiently explained that the planet was not in our universe, but closer to Earth than many planets in our own galaxy. It is important for the reader to understand that when people do recall living on other worlds, they seem not to be limited by the dimensional constraints of our universe. When souls travel to planets intergalactically or interdimensionally, they measure the trip by the time it takes them to reach their destinations through the tunnel effect from the spirit world. The size of the spatial region involved and the relative position of worlds to each other are also considerations. After listening to references about multiple dimensional realities from some of my subjects, I am left with the impression they believe there is a confluence of all these dimensional streams into one great river of the spirit world. If I could stand back and take apart all these alternate realities seated in the minds of my cases, it would be like peeling an artichoke of all its layers down to one heart at the core.
Yeah, one heart at the core, the overlords. That's where it all leads to.
I had been questioning Thies for quite a while, and I could see she was growing tired. Few subjects can sustain this level of spiritual receptivity for very long. I decided to end the session with a few questions about the genesis of all creation. Dr. N. Thies, I want to close by asking you more about the source. You have been a soul for a long time, so how do you see yourself relating to the oneness of creation you told me about earlier? Subject. Long pause. By sensations of movement, In the beginning, there is an outward migration of our soul energy from the source. Afterward, our lives are spent moving inward, toward cohesion and the uniting. Dr. N, you make this process seem as though a living organism was expanding and contracting. Subject, there is an explosive release, then a returning. Yes, the source pulsates. Dr. N, and you are moving toward the center of this energy source? Subject, there really is no center. The source is all around us as if we were inside a beating heart. Dr. N, but you did say you were moving back to a point of origin as your soul advanced in knowledge. Subject, yes. When I was thrust outward, I was a child. Now I'm being drawn back as my adolescence fades. Dr. N, back where? Subject,
to ignorance.
Further inside the source. Dr. N, perhaps you could describe this energy source through the use of colors to explain soul movement in the scope of creation. Subject, sighs. It's as if souls are all part of a massive electrical explosion which produces a halo effect. In this circular halo is a dark purple light which flares out, lightening to a whiteness at the edges. Our awareness begins at the edges of brilliant light, and as we grow, we become more engulfed in the darker light. Dr. N, I find it hard to visualize a god of creation as cold, dark light. Subject, that's because I am not close enough to conjunction to explain it well. The dark light is itself a covering beyond which we feel an intense warmth, full of a knowing presence, which is everywhere for us and alive. Dr. N, what was it like when you were first aware of your identity as a soul after being pushed out to the rim of this halo? Subject, to be is the same as watching the first flower of spring open, and the flower is you. And as it opens more, you become aware of other flowers in a glorious field, and there is unbounded joy. Dr. N, if this explosive, multicolored energy source collapses in on itself, will all the flowers eventually die? Subject, nothing is collapsing. The source is endless. As souls, we will never die. We know that somehow. As we coalesce, our increasing wisdom makes the source stronger.
Yeah, I bet it does. I bet it does make it stronger. 'Cause it needs everybody. It needs it to thrive and survive and continue to peddle its creations. Its lack of being capable of creating, more than likely, by having us do it for it.
Dr. N, is that the reason the source desires to perform this exercise? Subject, yes, to give life to us so we can arrive at a state of perfection. Dr. N,
Yeah.
why does a source, who is ostensibly perfect already, need to create further intelligence which is less than perfect? Subject, to help the Creator create. In this way, by self-transformation and rising to higher plateaus of fulfillment, we add to the building blocks of life. Dr. N, were souls forced to break away from the source and come to places like Earth because of some sort of original sin or fall from grace in the spirit world?
Here we go.
Subject, that's nonsense.
Yeah.
We came to be magnified.
And manipulated and deceived and taken for a ride and stuck in this damn loop until we figured it out.
In the beautiful variety of creation.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Dr. N, Thies, I want you to listen to me carefully. If the source needs to be made stronger or more wise, by using a division of its divine energy to create lesser intelligence, which it hopes will magnify. Doesn't this suggest it lacks full perfection itself? Subject, pause. The source creates for fulfillment of itself. Dr. N, that's my point. How can that which is absolute become more absolute unless something is lacking? Subject, hesitates. That which we see to be our source is all we can know. And we think what the Creator desires is to express itself through us by birthing. Dr. N, and do you think the source is actually made stronger by our existence as souls? Subject, long pause. I see the Creator's perfection, maintained and enriched, by sharing the possibility of perfection with us. And this is the ultimate extension of itself. Dr. N, so the source starts out by deliberately creating imperfect souls and imperfect life forms for these souls, and watches what happens in order to extend itself? Subject, yes.
Yeah.
And we have to have faith in this decision and trust the process of returning to the origin of life.
Yeah, just trust the process. Just trust it. That's all you gotta do. Just trust it. It's all good. There's nothing going on behind the scenes that might be nefarious. No, no, no. It's all noble, moral, uplifting. It's consciousness expanding. It's where you need to be.
One has to be starving to appreciate food, or cold to understand the blessings of warmth, and to be children to see the value of the parent. The transformation gives us purpose.
Oh,
Dr. N,
please.
do you want to be a parent of souls? Subject, participation in the conception of ourselves is a dream of mine. Dr. N, if our spirits did not experience physical life, would we ever know of these things you are telling me about? Subject, we would know of them, but not about them. It would be as if your spiritual energy were told to play piano scales with only one note. Dr. N, and do you believe if the Source didn't create souls to nurture and grow, its sublime energy would shrink from a lack of expression? Subject, sighs. Perhaps that is its purpose. With this last prophetic statement by Thais, I ended the session. As I brought this subject out of her deep trance, it was as though she were returning to me from across time and space. As she sat quietly focusing her eyes around my office, I expressed my appreciation for the opportunity of working with her on such an advanced level. Smiling, the lady said if she had any idea of the grilling in store for her, she might well have refused to work with me. As we said goodbye, I thought about her last statements concerning the source of life. In ancient Persia, the Sufis had a saying that if the Creator represents absolute good, and therefore absolute beauty, it is the nature of beauty to desire manifestation.
I'm just going to leave that one alone. Because clearly, if we're looking at this, regardless of what you feel, if Earth was hijacked or not, clearly, there's a few things going wrong in the Creator's department. Whether it's where we come from, or the phony baloney Creator, or Source, that is, or wannabe Source, that is working here, and outside of here, okay? Clearly, there's a lot of flaws, and scrutiny needs to be put down hard on it. That's the only way. You have to look at this stuff and say, okay, based on my existence here on Earth and what I've learned, what I know, does it seem like there's, it's all loving and all, rainbows, unicorns, and fairy dust and all that crap? No. It's not. And if you think that, you're just fooling yourself and you're delusional. No offense. That's just the way it is. Look at the world. Look at what's around you. Look at how everything functions. Does it seem like it's all loving and perfect and this and that? No, it's not.
12. Life selection. There comes that time when the soul must once again leave the sanctuary of the spirit world for another trip to earth. This decision is not an easy one. Souls must prepare to leave a world of total wisdom, where they exist in a blissful state of freedom, for the physical and mental demands of a human body. We have seen how tired souls can be when re-entering the spirit world. Many don't want to think about returning to Earth again. This is especially true when we have not come close to our goals at the end of a physical life. Once back in the spirit world, souls have misgivings about even temporarily leaving a world of self-understanding, comradeship, and compassion, to go to a planetary environment of uncertainty and fear brought about by aggressive, competing humans. Despite having family and friends on Earth, many incarnated souls feel lonely and anonymous among large impersonal populations. I hope my cases show the opposite is true in the spirit world, where our souls are involved in the most intimate sharing on an everlasting basis. Our spiritual identity is known and appreciated by a multitude of other entities, whose support is never ending.
Oh,
The rejuvenation of
their support is never ending. Oh my God, let's just bow down to them right now. Their support is it's never ending, brothers and sisters. Oh, it's amazing, isn't it? I could feel that support flowing through my veins right now. Praise the Lord.
our energy and personal assessment of oneself takes longer for some souls than others, but eventually the soul is motivated to start the process of incarnation. While our spiritual environment is hard to leave, as souls we also remember the physical pleasures of life on earth with fondness and even nostalgia. When the wounds of a past life are healed, and we are again totally at one with ourselves, we feel the pull of having a physical expression for our identity.
They rely on nostalgia. They bank on that. That is a key component to all this stuff. Is having those memories of the good stuff, and all the bad stuff. None of it happened.
Training sessions with our counselors and peer groups have provided a collaborative spiritual effort to prepare us for the next life. Our karma of past deeds towards humanity and our mistakes and achievements have all been evaluated with an eye toward the best course of future endeavors. The soul must now assimilate all this information and take purposeful action based upon 3 primary decisions. Am I ready for a new physical life? What specific lessons do I want to undertake to advance my learning and development? Where should I go, and who shall I be in my next life for the best opportunity to work on my goals? Older souls incarnate less, regardless of the population demands of their assigned planets.
Yeah, because you know what? They probably know something's up. They're probably like kicking and screaming the whole time, hiding from these. Remember we were just talking. Simon, I think, brought it up about the Astral Club. You know, that little group of people that came in and harassed that poor trucker who just wanted to be left alone in his astral cottage by the lake. And this group of thugs comes up trying to get him to reincarnate, and they trick him back down here. Okay, think about it. If you're an older soul, you probably don't necessarily know you're in the trap, but you also are kicking and screaming and hiding as much as possible from having to come back down here, because they're eventually going to catch up with you until you do.
When a world dies, those entities with unfinished business move on to another world, which has a suitable life form for the kind of work they have been doing. Cycles of incarnation for the eternal soul seem to be regulated more by the internal desires of a particular soul than by the urgency of host bodies evolving in a universe of planets. Nevertheless, Earth certainly has an increasing need for souls. Today we have over 5 billion people. Demographers vary in their calculations on how many individuals have lived on Earth in the last 200,000 years. The average estimate is some 50 billion people. This figure, which I think is low, does not signify the number of visitations by different souls. Bear in mind, the same souls continue to reincarnate, and there are those who occupy more than one body at a time. There are reincarnationists who believe the number of people living on Earth today is close to the total number of souls who ever lived here. The frequency of incarnation on Earth by souls is uneven. Earth clearly has more need for souls today than in the past. Population estimates in 1 AD are around 200 million. By 1800, humans had quadrupled, and after only 170 more years, quadrupled again. Between 1970 and 2010, the world's population is expected to double once more. When I study the incarnation chronology of a client, I find there is usually a long span of hundreds, even thousands of years between their lives in Paleolithic nomadic cultures. When the introduction of agriculture and domesticated animals in the Neolithic age, from 7,000 to 5,000 years ago, my subjects report living more frequent lives. Still, their lives are often spaced as much as 500 years apart. With the rise of cities, trade, and more available food, I see the incarnation schedules of souls increasing with a growing population. Between 1000 and 1500 AD, my clients live an average of once in 2 centuries. After 1700, this changes to once in a century. By the 1900s, living more than one life in a century is common among my cases. It has been argued these increases in soul incarnations only appear to be so because past life recall improves as people in hypnosis get closer to their current lives. This may be true to some extent, but if a life is important, it will be vividly remembered at any age and time. Without doubt, the enormous population increase on Earth is the basic cause for souls coming here more often. Is there a possibility that the inventory of souls slated for Earth could be strained by this surge in human reproduction? When I ask clients about the inventory of available souls, they tell me I should worry more about our planet dying from overpopulation than exhausting the reserve of souls. There is the conviction that new souls are always available to fill any expanding population requirements.
Okay, as far as the whole overpopulation thing goes, there is so much land on Earth, it's not even funny. The only reason overpopulation plays a role is because of the stupid system that's put in place, because of the demands that are necessary to keep it functioning on a day-to-day basis. If you're living in a city, and you're like New York City, for example, and you're walking around there, it's gonna seem like the world is overpopulated because you live in that city and it's wall-to-wall people and you're squished into a small little place. You go outside of New York City, you go up, say for instance you go up to upstate New York, hundreds of miles of just open land everywhere, a house here and there, a house here and there. It's tons of land. The reason overpopulation is pushed is because a lot of people live in cities. So they have that perception. Again, your perception is being managed to think that. When in fact, there's endless acres of land throughout the world that if the system wasn't so goddamn parasitic, people should be able to have enough to get by and do their own thing. But no, because we have, the consumer culture, we have capitalism, all that, and most people being in cities, there are issues there, and they're all manufactured issues from the system.
If our planet is just one example among all other intelligent populations which exist in this universe, The inventory of souls must truly be astronomical. I have said souls do have the freedom to choose when, where, and who they want to be in their physical lives. Certain souls spend less time in the spirit world in order to accelerate development, while others are very reluctant to leave. There's no question but what our guides exert great influence in this matter. Just as we were given an intake interview in the orientation phase, right after death, there are preparatory exit interviews by spiritual advisors to determine our readiness for rebirth. The case which follows illustrates a typical spiritual scene with a lower-level soul. Case 24. Dr. N. When do you first realize that you might be returning to Earth? Subject. A soft voice comes into my mind and says, "It's about time, don't you think?" Dr. N. Who is this voice? Subject. My instructor. Some of us have to be given a push when they think we are ready again.
Aha.
Dr. N. Do you feel you are about ready to return to Earth? Subject.
They need a push.
Yes, I think so. I have prepared for it. But my studies are going to take such a long time in Earth years before I'm done. It's kind of overwhelming. Dr. N. And do you think you will still be going to Earth when you near the end of your incarnations? Subject. Long pause. Maybe no. There is another world besides Earth, but with Earth people. Dr. N. What does this mean? Subject. Earth will have fewer people, less crowded. It's not clear to me. Dr. N. Where do you think you might be then?
Of course it's not clear, because they never get the, again, there's no guidebook. It's all fragmented planning, and, you're left to your own devices when you come down here, just like we've seen in this whole series.
Subject. I'm getting the impression there is colonization someplace else. It's not clear to me. Note. The opposite of past life regression is post-life progression, which enables some subjects to see snatches of the future as incomplete scenes. For instance, some have told me Earth's population will be greatly reduced by the end of the 22nd century, partially due to adverse soil and atmospheric changes.
Blah, blah, blah.
They also see people living in odd-looking domed buildings.
Well, that, there's probably some accuracy to that with the dome buildings, because remember, where they're headed with all this is, first we obviously have the transhumanism aspect to this, where they're going to merge man with machine, okay? The transference of consciousness. Then, mixed in with all this, which is coming to a head right now, in the very near future, is obviously the climate change thing, okay? So they're going to say, oh, well, we need to keep you in these domes, in these quarantined areas, where you'll stay there. You're not going to be allowed to travel outside of those domes, or this is just theoretical, of course, but it makes sense that this is where it would head. That, due to the threat of climate change being so huge and such a massive problem, and because we care about you so much, that we're going to have to put you in these certain areas, and probably based on your compliance factor and how well they have you under control, you might get certain perks by being able to live in one area over another, in the slum domes versus the affluent domes, or areas, let's just call them domes, whatever. And just kind of like North Korea. Like, if you're born in North Korea and you play the game, and be a good little mind-controlled slave, then what they'll do is they'll put you up in Pyongyang, which is the epicenter of North Korea, where everything is, the bulk of everything is done, and where the most compliant citizens are allowed to live. Now, mind you, it's still a dump, okay? But if you are not a citizen of Pyongyang and you live outside of that area, good luck. Your life is miserable. So it's going to be the same concept here when they roll all this out to society. And that's coming. I don't know when, but it's coming. That's where everything is the direction is headed with all this.
Details about the future are always rather limited, due, I suspect, to built-in amnesia from karmic constraints. I'll have more to say about this with the next case. Dr. N, let's go back to what you were saying about the instructors giving people a push to leave the spirit world. Would you prefer that they not do this? Subject, oh, I'd like to stay. But the instructors don't want us hanging around here too long, or we will get into a rut.
Yeah, no, they don't want you hanging around, you know, in your soul body essence up there. They want you down here in a body where you can continue to feed the loosh system. Get down in a body. Stop screwing around up there. Come on, let's go. Chop, chop.
Dr. N, could you insist on staying? Subject, well, yes. The instructors don't force you to leave because they're so gentle. Laughs. But they have their ways of encouraging you when the time comes. Dr. N, do you know of anyone who didn't want to be reborn again on Earth for any reason? Subject, yes, my friend Mark. He said he had nothing to contribute anymore. He was sick of life on Earth and didn't want to go back. Dr. N, had he lived many lives? Subject, no, not really. But he wasn't adjusting well in them. Dr. N, what did the teachers do with him? Was he allowed to stay in the spirit world? Subject, reflectively, we choose to be reborn when it is decided we are ready. They don't force you to do anything.
When it is decided we are ready. But they don't force you to do anything.
Mark was shown he did benefit others around him. Dr. N, what happened to Mark? Subject, after some more indoctrination, Mark realized he had been wrong about his abilities, and finally he went back to Earth. Dr. N, indoctrination? This makes me think of coercion. Subject, disturbed by my remark.
Oh yeah, I bet they were disturbed by your remark, huh? Let's just rewind that piece just a little bit.
Be born when it is decided we are ready. They don't force you to do anything. Mark was shown he did benefit others around him. Dr. N, what happened to Mark? Subject, after some more indoctrination,
Yes.
Mark realized he had been wrong about his abilities, and finally he went back to Earth.
Yes, he was wrong. He was wrong. And he went back to Earth after indoctrination. Boy. Nice little truth bomb right there, ain't it?
Dr. N, indoctrination? This makes me think of coercion. Subject, disturbed by my remark. It's not that way at all. Mark was just discouraged and needed the confidence to keep trying. Note, Case 10 in Chapter 4 on Displaced Souls told us about how souls who had absorbed too much negative energy from Earth were remodeled. Case 22 also mentioned the need for restoration with some damaged souls.
Restoration.
These are more extreme alterations than the basic reframing apparently used on Mark's tired soul. Dr. N,
Tired
if
soul.
the guides don't force you, could a soul absolutely refuse to be reborn? Subject, pause. Yes, I guess you could stay here and never be reborn if you hated it that much. But the instructors told Mark that without life in a body, his studies would take longer.
What a surprise. Yet again, we hear the same crap. Well, you know, if you want to progress, if you really want to progress like the Godfather, and you're going to grow, go visit him. And maybe, once you go into a body, we're going to allow you to proceed. But until then, on the day of your daughter's wedding, and may your first child be a masculine child. Now get back to Earth so you can grow and learn. And finally, someday, never, you'll be able to grow and get out of here and not have to go back to Earth. Oh.
If you lose having direct experience, you miss a great deal. Dr. N. How about the reverse situation, where a soul insists on returning to Earth immediately, say after an untimely death? Subject. I have seen that too. It's an impulsive reaction and does wear off after a while. The instructors get you to see that wanting to hurry back someplace as a new baby wouldn't change the circumstances of your death. It might be different if you could be reborn as an adult right away in the same situation.
Yes, but that's not happening because we're born ignorant. Us having coming out as babies, children, with the being prone to manipulation, deception, and perception management constantly. Again, until the age we discussed this in the past, until the age about 6 or 7, you are just a being of your surroundings. You're learning based on your surroundings. Impressions mean a lot when you're a child, and seeing as we have to be a child when we're brought here, that's a pretty big disadvantage to us, isn't it? You can't just pop into an adult body and use more rational thinking and come in fresh like that. No, because you need to be young, because that's part of the conditioning process. It's actually a really insane way that it's set up, but hell, it works.
Eventually, everyone realizes they must rest and reflect. Dr. N. Well, give me your final thoughts about the prospect of living again. Subject. I'm excited about it. I would have no satisfaction without my physical lives. Dr. N. When you are ready for a new incarnation, what do you do? Subject. I go to a special place. Once a soul has decided to incarnate again, the next stage in the return process is to be directed to the place of life selection. Souls consider when and where they want to go on Earth before making a decision on who they will be in their new life. Because of this spiritual practice, I have divided life selection and our final choice of a body into 2 chapters for ease of understanding. The selection of a time and place for incarnation and who we want to be are not completely separate decisions. However, we start by having the opportunity of viewing how we might fit into certain environments in future time segments. Then our attention is directed to people living in these places. I was a little distracted by this procedure until I realized a soul is largely influenced by cultural conditions and events, as well as by the participants in these events during a span of chronological time. I have come to believe that the spirit world as a whole is not functionally uniform. All spiritual regions are seen by traveling souls as having the same ethereal properties, but with different applications. As an illustration, the space of orientation for incoming souls could be contrasted to the space of life selection for those who are leaving. Both involve life evaluations for souls in transit, which include scenes from Earth, but there the resemblance ends. Orientation spaces are said to be small, intimate conference areas designed to make a newly arrived soul comfortable, but our mental attitude in this space can be somewhat defensive. This is because there is the feeling we might have done better with life. A guide is always directly interacting with it.
Ugh, sounds like a nightmare. An utter nightmare. Conference rooms, astral conference rooms, and needling, and then rationalizing where you may be born, as, if there's this, like there's any positive to that. Good Lord, I mean, there is a positive to where you can be born. Let's not lie here. I mean, it's we could be born in much worse areas and be much worse off. So I think no matter how much crap we've all dealt with, the bulk of us are fairly lucky with our living situation. It doesn't mean it's not a struggle, because it is, but nothing like some people exist, And again, there's that normalization going on, which really just pisses me off.
On the other hand, when we enter the space of life selection, we are full of hope, promise, and lofty expectations. Here, souls are virtually alone, with their guides out of sight, while evaluating new life options. This hectic, stimulating place is described as being much larger than other spiritual study areas. Case 22 considered it a world unto itself, where transcendent energy alters time to allow for planetary study. While some spiritual locales are difficult for my subjects to describe, most love to talk about the place of life selection, and they use remarkably similar descriptions. I am told it resembles a movie theater, which allows souls to see themselves in the future playing different roles in various settings. Before leaving, souls will have selected one scenario for themselves. Imagine being given a dress rehearsal before the actual performance of a new life. To tell us about it, I have picked a male subject who is well acquainted with the way his soul is assisted in making appropriate decisions. Case 25. Dr. N. After you have made the decision you want to come back to Earth, what happens next? Subject. Well, when my trainer and I agree the time is right to accomplish things, I send out thoughts. Dr. N. Go on. Subject. My messages are received by the coordinators. Dr. N. Who are they? Doesn't your trainer guide handle all the arrangements for incarnation? Subject. Not exactly. He talks to the coordinators who actually assist us in previewing our life possibilities at the ring. Dr. N. What is the ring? Subject. That's where I'm going.
So here we go. We got the ring again. We've talked about this in the past too. So pay attention to this part.
We call it the Ring of Destiny. Dr. N. Is there just one place like it in the spirit world? Subject. Pause. Oh, I think there must be many, but I don't see them. Dr. N. All right. Let's go to the ring together on the count of 3. When I am finished with my count, you will have the capacity to remember all the details of this experience. Are you ready to go? Subject. Yes. Dr. N. 1, 2, 3. Your soul is now moving toward the space of life selection. Explain what you see. Subject. Long pause. I am floating towards the ring. It's circular. A monster bubble. Dr. N. Keep going. What else can you tell me? Subject. There's a concentrated energy force. The light is so intense. I'm being sucked inward through a funnel. It's a little darker. Dr. N. Are you afraid? Subject. No. I've been here before, after all. It's going to be interesting. I'm excited. What's in store for me? Dr. N. Okay. As you float inside the ring, what are your first impressions? Subject. Voice lowers. I am a little apprehensive.
I bet.
But the energy relaxes me. I have an awareness of concern for me. Caring. I don't feel alone. My trainer's presence is with me, too.
No, yeah, the trainer's presence is there. This, if you happen to watch my pre-birth memory commentary of the guy who discusses his recollection of all of this, you're gonna see you're gonna hear a lot of similarities in this that you did in that. If you haven't watched that yet, you're new to the channel, check out that video at some point. You're gonna hear what I'm saying. You'll pick up on the similarities.
Dr. N. Continue to report everything. What do you see next? Subject. The ring is surrounded by banks of screens. I'm looking at them. Dr. N. Screens on walls? Subject. They appear as walls themselves, but nothing is really solid. It's all elastic.
Yeah, it's a virtual reality.
The screens curve around me, moving.
Holographic.
Dr. N, tell me more about the screens. Subject. They are blank, not reflecting anything yet. They shimmer as sheets of glass. Mirrors. Dr. N, what happens next? Subject, nervously. I feel a moment of quietness. It's always like this. Then it's as if someone flipped a switch on the projector in a panorama movie theater. The screens come alive with images and there's color, action, full of light and sound.
And you can even compare what's going on here to when you die and you go through the life review. You start reading near-death experiences, you will see a very similar representation as well. Movies, playing, etc., etc. In this case, it's prior to birth into the body.
Dr. N, keep reporting to me. Where is your soul in relation to the screens? Subject. I am hovering in the middle, watching the panorama of life all around me. Places. People. Jauntily. I know this city. Dr. N, what do you see? Subject. New York. Dr. N, did you ask to see New York City? Subject. We talked about my going back there. Absorbed. Gee, it's changed. More buildings. And the cars. It's as noisy as ever. Dr. N, I'll come back to New York in a few minutes. Right now I want you to tell me what is expected of you in the ring. Subject. I'm going to mentally operate the panel. Dr. N, what's that? Subject. A scanning device in front of the screens. I see it as a mass of lights and buttons. It's as if I'm in the cockpit of an airplane. Dr. N, and you see these mechanical objects in a spiritual setting? Subject. I know it sounds crazy, but this is what is coming through to me, so I can explain to you what I am doing. Dr. N, that's fine, don't worry about it. Just tell me what you are supposed to do with the panel. Subject. I will help the controllers change the images on the screens by operating the scanner with my mind. Dr. N. Oh, you are going to operate the projector as if you were working in a movie theater? Subject. Laughs. Not the projector, the scanner. Anyway, they aren't really movies. I am watching life actually going on in the streets of New York. My mind connects with the scanner to control the movement of the scenes I am watching. Dr. N, would you say this device resembles a computer? Subject. Sort of. It works on a tracking system which converts... Dr. N, converts what? Subject. My commands are registered on the panel so I can track the action. Dr. N, position yourself at the panel and become the operator, while continuing to explain everything to me. Subject. Pause. I have assumed control. I see lines converging along various points in a series of scenes. I'm traveling through time now on the lines and watching the images on the screens change. Dr. N, and the scenes are constantly moving around you. Subject. Yes. Then the points light up on the lines when I want the scene to stop. Note. Lines of travel is a term we have heard before in other spiritual regions to describe soul transition. That is case 14. Dr. N, why are you doing all this? Subject. I'm scanning. The stops are major turning points on life's pathways involving important decisions, possibilities, events which make it necessary to consider alternate choices in time.
What this kind of reminds me of, in a different way though, for anyone who's seen the movie Defending Your Life with Albert Brooks and Meryl Streep, there's a period in the movie where they go into this thing called the Past Life Pavilion, and I think you could find the exact clip I'm talking about. So again, it's from Defending Your Life. They go in and they put their hand on this device, and their one of their past lives or multiple past lives will start playing in the form of like a projector, a hologram, and it's a funny scene. But it vaguely has that feel because they're putting their hand on initiating the connection, and in turn, it's spitting out a past life. By the way, definitely check out that movie. Add that to your list. Again, it's called Defending Your Life.
Dr. N. So the lines mark the pathways through a series of events in time and space? Subject. Yes. The track is controlled in the ring and transmitted to me. Dr. N. Do you create the scenes of life while you track? Subject. Oh, no. I simply control their movement through time on the lines. Dr. N. What else can you tell me about the lines? Subject. The lines of energy are roads with points of colored light as guideposts, which I can move forward, backward, or stop. Dr. N. As if you were running a videotape with start, fast forward, stop, and rewind buttons? Subject laughs. That's the idea. Dr. N. All right. You are moving along the track, scanning scenes, and you decide to stop. Tell me what you do then. Subject. I suspend the scene on the screens so I can enter it. Dr. N. What? Are you saying you become part of the scene yourself? Subject. Yes, now I have direct access to the action. Dr. N. In what way? Do you become a person in the scene, or does your soul hover overhead while people move around? Subject. Both. I can experience what life is like with anyone in the scene, or just watch them from any vantage point. Dr. N. How can you leave the panel and go into a scene on Earth?
Now, again, you have near-death experiences where they say the same thing, where they can go, they see a scene, or they have all these projectors around them with 360 vision, and what they claim, or what they say, is that they are able to tap into certain events in that lifetime and relive that experience. Sometimes in the form that they had it, but sometimes that also links into the whole guilt trip aspect of this, especially the negative ones. Something you might have done to wrong somebody, and what they do is they warp you into that experience on the receiving end of something that you did wrong. All part of the guilt trip, sinner, karma, matrix crap that's going on behind the scenes with all this. I also wanted to add that in the movie Soul, which we're going to do a watch party. I've got a bunch of emails from a number of you, and that's probably going to happen either this weekend or next weekend. I still am not 100% sure, but email will be coming in the coming weeks or days with a firm date and time. Anyone wants to sign up, we're going to watch the movie Soul together, not on here, on another platform. I will send out login details for everybody. You can email me foreverconsciousresearch@gmail.com if you want to join. Just put in the subject Soul Watch Party, please, so I can separate the emails. But I wanted to add, with Soul, when you're watching the movie, they go through what your possible next life could be, or what and so he's walking through all of the areas with 22 and seeing that, and some, I think he's a doctor in one of them, this and that, so they're trying to, it's a big ego thing going on there too, but you can see the same exact type of similarities going on in this book that are going on in Soul. So there's another thing we can add and mix in with all this to further make the case,
while still monitoring the action in the ring. Subject. I know you probably won't understand this, but part of me stays at the control so I can start up the scene again and stop at any time. Dr. N. Perhaps I do understand. Can you divide your energy? Subject. Yes, and I can send thoughts back to myself. Of course, the controllers are helping too as I go in and out of the screens. Dr. N. So, essentially, you can move time forward, backward, and stop it while tracking. Subject. Yes, in the ring. Dr. N. Outside the ring, does time coexist for you in the spirit world, or is it progressive? Subject. It coexists here, but we can still see it progress on Earth. Dr. N. It seems to me when souls are in the ring of destiny, they use time almost like a tool. Subject. As spirits, we do use time subjectively. Things and events are moved around and become objects in time, but to us time is uniform. Dr. N.
Manipulation tool.
The paradox I have with time travel is that what is going to happen has already happened. So you could meet your own soul in some human being as you come and go in life scenes from the future. Subject. Smiles enigmatically. When making contact, the soul in residence is put on hold for a moment. It's relatively short. We don't disturb life cycles when tracking through time. Dr. N. Well, if past, present, and future are not really separate while you are tracking, why do you stop scenes to consider choices when you can already see into the future? Subject. I'm afraid you don't realize the real purpose of time use by the controllers of the ring. Life is still conditional. Progressive time is created to test us.
Controllers of the ring.
We are not shown all the possible endings to a scene. Parts of lives are obscured to us. Dr. N. So, time is used as a catalyst for learning by viewing lives when you can't see everything that is going to happen?
Yeah, again, it's a manipulation tool. And it's, again, a familiarity, too. Because, given the fact that all of us have been here God knows how many times, it is able to create, again, another illusion. And it's something, there's a comfort there to some extent, I'm sure, that goes along with all of this.
Subject. Yes, to test our ability to find solutions. We gauge our abilities against the difficulty of the events. The ring sets up different experiments to choose from. On Earth, we will try to solve them. Dr. N. In the ring, can you look at life on planets besides Earth? Subject. I can't because I'm programmed for tracking time on Earth.
Programmed for tracking time on Earth. So you're not allowed to see any, whatever. Again, you're firewalled off from what you are allowed to see and experience. If you're not worthy, you don't get to experience it.
Dr. N. Your being able to jump through time from the screens sounds like a ball. Subject grins. Oh, it's stimulating, that's for sure. But we can't frolic around because there are serious decisions to be made for the next life. I'll have to accept the consequences for any mistakes in my choices, if I am not able to handle a life well. Dr. N. I still don't see how you could make many serious mistakes in your choices when you actually experience part of the life in which you plan to live. Subject. My choices of life environments are not unlimited. As I said, I probably won't be able to see all of a scene in one time segment. Because of what they don't show you, there is risk attached to all body choices. Dr.
Aha! Because they don't show you it all, there's risks associated with all body decision. No shock there, right?
Dr. N. If one's future destiny is not fully preordained, as you say, why call this space the ring of destiny? Subject.
Good question.
Oh, there is destiny, all right. The life cycles are in place. It's just that there are so many alternatives which are unclear.
Isn't that convenient, right? How convenient that is. It's, you know, there's so many possibilities that can happen that, you know, everything that you were hoping for in your plan just happens to be destroyed and messed with. Ah, how sweet.
When I take my subjects into the spatial area of life selection, they see a circle of past, present, and future time, such as the ring in this case. Sensing they are leaving spiritual now time within the circle, souls apparently rotate back and forth on resonating waves during their observational runs. All aspects of time are presented to them as reoccurring realities, ebbing and flowing together. Because parallel realities are superimposed upon one another, they too can be seen as possibilities for physical lives, especially by the more experienced souls. I was puzzled why my subjects did not fully see the future under these conditions, as part of an all-knowing spiritual setting. In trying to sort this out, I finally came to the conclusion that the spirit world is designed to protect the interests of each soul. Generally, the people I work with are still incarnating younger souls. They may not clearly see significant events too far into the future, because the further away these souls get from present probabilities, the higher the incidence of possible alternative realities which cloud their images. Although the same properties hold true for time in the distant past, there is one exception. A soul's own past lives are more easily identified. This is because a single reality, with a definite course of action, was previously established to train this soul, and thus is firmly imprinted on his memory.
Train.
In Chapter 5, Case 13 demonstrated how amnesia is imposed upon us when we come into a current life, so that past life experiences will not inhibit self-discovery in the present. The same condition holds true for souls examining future lives. Without knowing why, most people believe their life has a plan.
Amnesia. Justification. Here we go.
Of course, they are right. Although amnesia does prevent having full conscious knowledge of this plan, the unconscious mind holds the key to spiritual memories of a general blueprint for each life.
And guess what? Good luck tapping into it. Good luck. Good luck. Good luck figuring out the guidebook and all this other stuff. It's amazing, isn't it, that all this stuff we have very little, if any, access to. It's, everything is just, poo-pooed away. It's all easily explainable. It's all love and light, rainbows, unicorns.
The vehicle of life selection provides a kind of time machine for souls, where they see some alternative routes to the main road. Although these paths are not fully exposed to us as souls, we carry some of the roadmap to Earth. A client once said to me, "Whenever I am confused about what to do in life, I quietly sit down and think about where I have been, and compare this to where I might want to go in the future. The answer to the next step just comes to me from inside myself." Accepting what befalls us on the road of life as acts of God does not mean our existence should be locked into spiritual determinism, where we must submit to an unalterable fate. If everything was preordained, there would be no purpose or justice to our struggle. When adversity strikes, it is not intended that we sit back with a fatalistic attitude and not fight to improve the situation by making on-site changes. During our lives, all of us will experience opportunities for change which involve risk. These occasions may come at inconvenient times. We may not act upon them, but the challenge is there for us. The purpose of reincarnation is the exercise of free will. Without this ability, we would be impotent creatures indeed.
Free will in utter harassment and illusions until you break. And you know what? From everything I can tell, it does not take much. I mean, just look at where we are, and look at everything we've learned with near-death experiences and all this stuff. I mean, it shows that it just doesn't take much. These attachments that we carry with us on into when we are about to pass and into death are absolutely our biggest burdens and our biggest problem. And those have to be flushed out leading into death. They have to. And because once the illusions start coming, you have to be able to push back on that and resist. And the thing is I think, some will be stronger with that than others. And, based on you have to look inside you and know what your weaknesses may be and work on those. Doesn't mean you have to be doing it every second of every day, but it's something, if you feel inside you that they're going to be a possible problem, work on that. Try and flush some of that out, a week at a time, a month at a time, and do what you need to do for you. But it comes down to inner strength. It really does. To deny this from even happening, or shutting it down, instantly, as quickly as possible, and moving on and getting the hell out. That's a huge part of all this. These attachments have got to go.
Thus, karmic destiny means we are not just caught up in events over which we have no control. This also means we have karmic lessons and responsibilities.
Ugh.
The law of cause and effect for our actions always exists.
Ugh. This guy. It's just, here we go. Karma again. More karma. The guilt trip train that never ends.
Which is why this case did not want to make a mistake in choosing a life unsuited to him. But whatever happens to us in life, it is important we understand that our happiness or pain does not reflect either blessings or betrayal on the part of a God oversoul, our guides, or life selection coordinators. We are the masters of our destiny. As I conclude my conversation with Case 25, it may strike the reader that the musical goals of this individual toward his next life are rather self-serving. Certainly his desire to be an admired musical talent has elements of personal compensation, which would be less evident in a more advanced soul. However, it will also be seen that this soul wants to give a lot of himself. Dr. N. Now, I want to talk more about the scenes you are seeing of New York City. Prior to your coming into the ring, were you given any preparation about selections based on geography? Subject. Oh, to some extent. My trainer and I talked about the fact that I had died young in New York in my last life. I wanted to go back to this dynamic city and study music. Dr. N. Did you also talk to your trainer about other souls? Your friends who might want to incarnate with you? Subject. Sure, that's part of it. Some of us begin staking out a new life by deciding what surroundings are best for all concerned. I made it known I wanted to start again in the same place where I was killed. My trainer and friends offered their suggestions. Note: this subject came to America as a Russian immigrant in his past life. He was killed in a railway construction accident in New York at age 22 in 1898. His rebirth in the same city occurred in 1937. Dr. N. What suggestions? Subject. We talked about my wanting to be a classical pianist. I had played an accordion for extra pickup change. Banquets, weddings, that kind of thing. Dr. N. And this experience is motivating your interest in the piano? Subject. Yes. When making ice deliveries on the streets of New York, I would pass by the concert hall. It was my goal to someday study music and make a name for myself in the big city. I hardly got started before I died. Dr. N. Did you see your death as a young man in New York during your last visit to the ring? Subject. Sadly. Yes. And I accepted that, as a condition of the life. It was a good life, just short. Now I want to go back with a better start and make a name for myself in music. Dr. N. Could you ask to go anywhere on Earth? Subject. It's fairly open. If we have preferences, they are weighed against what's available. Dr. N. You mean against what bodies are available? Subject. Yes, in certain places. Dr. N. When you said you wanted a better start in music, I assume this is another reason you want to go back to New York. Subject. This city will give me the best opportunity to develop my desire to study the piano. I wanted a large cosmopolitan city with music schools. Dr. N. What's wrong with a city like Paris? Subject. I wasn't offered a body in Paris. Dr. N. I want to be clear on your selection options. When you start previewing life scenes in the ring, are you primarily looking at people or locations? Subject. We begin with locations. Dr. N. Okay. And so you are looking at the streets of New York City at the moment? Subject. Right. And it's wonderful, because I'm doing more than looking. I'm floating around, smelling the food in the restaurants. I hear the honking of cars. I'm following people walking past the shops on Fifth Avenue, getting the feel of the place again. Dr. N. At this point, have you actually entered the minds of the people walking along the streets? Subject. No, not yet. Dr. N. What do you do next? Subject. I go to other cities. Dr. N. Oh, I guess I just assumed your body choices had to be in New York City. Subject. I didn't tell you that. I also could go to Los Angeles, Buenos Aires, or Oslo. Dr. N. I'm going to count to 5, and when I reach 5, you will scan these cities while we continue talking. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Report what you are doing. Subject. I'm going to concert halls and music academies and watching the students practice. Dr. N. Do you just observe the general surroundings while floating around these students? Subject. I do more. I go inside the heads of some of them to see how they translate the music. Dr. N. Do you need to be in a special place like the ring to examine the mental processes of people? Subject. For past and future events, I do. Making contact with someone in the present on Earth can be done anywhere, from the spirit world. Dr. N. Could you describe the way your soul makes contact with someone?
But remember, most of the time, people can't hear it. They don't know it's even happening. So he's saying, yeah, it's easier to make connection from out in the spirit world to down here, but most people don't even know it's happening unless it's usually some sort of trauma, high trauma. That's when these so-called guides and whoever in your soul group tends to appear to further manipulate you spiritually down here and give you meaning and purpose, or whatever the case may be. And again, further giving yourself away to a token illusion.
Subject. Pause. As a light brush stroke. Note. Souls are quite capable of sending and receiving messages from each other between spiritual and temporal worlds, as many of us have personally experienced. However, these temporary connections are made and broken quickly. The joining of a soul to a soulless baby for a lifetime is more difficult, and will be described further in Case 29. Dr. N. As you look at these prospective lives, what year is it on Earth? Subject. Hesitates. It's 1956 now, and most of my prospects are in their teens. I'll check them out before and after this year, as much as the ring will let me. Dr. N. So
As much as the ring will let him. Very interesting wordage, right? Again, what are you allowed to witness? What are you allowed to experience? Not all knowing up in here, is it? Isn't very free, is it? Where's the sovereignty? Non-existent.
the ring gives you the opportunity to actually be various people who, in relative time on Earth, are not yet born? Subject. To see if I would fit in well, to check out their talent and parents, that sort of thing. Decisively. I want New York. Dr. N. Do you think you have looked at the other cities carefully enough? Subject. Impatiently. Yes, I did that, but I don't want them. Dr. N. Wait a minute. What if you liked a music student in Oslo, but wanted to live in New York City? Subject laughs. As a matter of fact, there is a promising girl in Los Angeles, but I still want New York. Dr. N. All right, move forward. As your time in the ring draws to a close, give me the details of your probable life selection. Subject. I am going to New York to be a musician. I'm still trying to make up my mind between a couple of people, but I think I will choose... Stops to laugh. A dumpy kid with a lot of talent. His body won't have the stamina of my last one, but I'll have the advantage of parents with some money who will encourage me to practice, practice, practice. Dr. N. Money is important. Subject. I know I sound grasping, selfish, but there was no money in my last life. If I want to express the beauty of music and give pleasure to myself and others, I need proper training and supportive parents. Otherwise I'll get sidetracked. I know myself. Dr. N. If you didn't like any of the options presented to you in the ring, could you ask for more places and people to look at? Subject. It isn't necessary, at least for me. I'm offered enough. Dr. N. Let me be more blunt. If you are supposed to select a life from only the selections shown you in the ring, how do you know the coordinators aren't stacking the deck against you? Maybe they are programming you to make certain choices. Subject. Pause. I don't think so, considering all the times I've come to the ring. We don't go unless our minds are...
Let's rewind that.
Certain choices. If you are supposed to select a life from only the selections shown you in the ring, how do you know the coordinators aren't stacking the deck against you? Maybe they are programming you to make certain choices.
They are.
Subject. Pause. I don't think so, considering...
I don't think so. And if anything, we have seen this time and time again throughout this entire series that there is a programming aspect to all of this. There is a needling going on, an incessant harassment to get you into a body. And part of that is to push you along and to a life script. And again, I'll revert back to earlier when I said if you haven't checked out my pre-birth memory video commentary from a month or so ago, check that one out. It's wild because you'll see some of this planning and arranging in there.
All the times I've come to the ring. We don't go unless our minds are made up as to the type of life we want to live. And I've always had interesting choices based upon my own ideas. Dr. N. Okay. After you are completely finished with reviewing lives in the ring, what happens then? Subject. The controllers come into my mind to see if I am satisfied with what I've been shown.
The controllers come into my mind to see if I am satisfied.
Dr. N. Are they always the same entities? Subject. I think so. As far back as I can remember. Dr. N. Do they pressure you to make a decision before leaving the ring? Subject. Not at all. I float out and go back to talk to my companions before making up my mind.
Same entities.
Case 25 told us his choice of locations was confined to 4 cities. The number of scenes souls preview before a new life is, of course, different for each visit. Individual life offerings are selective, which indicates to me that other spiritual entities have been actively working on our behalf to set up location scenes before we arrive. The number of specialist spirits who assist souls at the space of life selection never seems to be large. They appear as rather vague apparitions to my subjects, although most believe members of their council of elders and personal guides are involved.
Alright, so again, guides, council of elders, same groups of entities. Same entities, same guides. So again, you have the familiarity going on where you're used to working with this group and these certain individuals. And they're pushing you along. I think again that we can't underestimate the conditioning going on. That you're used to this group, and you get pep talks, you get needled, you get harassed, you get guilt tripped, you get loved, you get all that stuff, and then on top of it you have this soul group that you're involved with, who you're learning with, and it's a endless cycle of just bullshit.
Early in human history, when the world was underpopulated, my clients recall lives where they were always born in sparse human settlements. In time, with the rise of villages and then larger centers of ancient civilizations, my cases report returning to the same areas. Life selections were geographically scattered again by the great migrations of people colonizing new lands, particularly in the last 400 years. In this century of overpopulation, more souls are choosing to live in places where they have been before. Does this tendency today mean souls want to return to the same countries because of race? Souls are not inclined toward life selections based on ethnicity or nationalism. These products of human separatism are taught in childhood. Aside from the comfortable familiarity of culture in a soul's choice, which is different from racial bias, we must also factor in the affinity many spirits have for deserts, mountains, or the sea. Souls may also have a preference for rural or urban living. Are souls drawn back to the same geographic areas because they want a new life with the same family they had in their past life? The tradition among certain cultures, such as Native Americans, is that souls choose to stay within family bloodlines. A dying man is expected to come back as his own unborn grandchild. In my practice, I rarely see souls repeating the same genetic choices in past lives, because this would inhibit growth and opportunity. Once in a while I hear about a soul returning to the body of a relative in a
It would inhibit growth and opportunity. Oh.
former life under unusual karmic circumstances.
Here we go.
For example, if a brother and sister had a close affinity for each other, and one were to die suddenly while still young, the soul of the dead sibling might want to return in the surviving sibling's child to restore this broken life connection to finish an important task.
That they will have no clue exists until they're conveniently dead. Isn't that great? So yeah, it's mending some connection. A connection that is used for manipulation behind the scenes, not to enjoy while you can actually frickin' remember it in the physical.
What is even more common in my experience are the souls of young children who die soon after birth and then return to the same parents as the soul of their next baby. These plans are all made in advance by the souls participating in tragic family events. They involve a maze of karmic issues. Not long ago, I had a case where my client had died from a birth defect early in his last life. I asked, "What was the purpose of your life ending when you were only a few days old?" He replied, "The lesson was for my parents, not me, and that's why I elected to come back for them as a filler." When souls return for a short time to help someone else, rather than work on their own issues, because there isn't time, some call this a filler life. In this case, the parents had abused and finally caused the death of another child when they were together in an earlier life. Although they were a loving young couple in the last life of my client, these parents evidently needed to experience the grief of having a child they desperately wanted taken away from them. Experiencing the anguish from this terrible loss gave the souls of these parents a deeper insight into the effects of severing a blood bond. I will have an example of this theme in Case 27. Spirits do not routinely see their deaths in future lives. If souls choose a life where their death will be premature, they often see it in the place of life selection. I have found that souls essentially volunteer in advance for bodies who will have sudden fatal illnesses, are to be killed by someone, or come to an abrupt end of life with many others from a catastrophic event. Souls who become involved in these tragedies are not caught in the wrong place at the wrong time, with a capricious God looking the other way. Every soul has a motive for the events in which it chooses to participate. One client told me his last life was planned in advance to end at 7 years of age as an American Indian boy. He said, "I was looking for a short burst lesson in humility, and this life as a mistreated, starving half-breed was enough." Another, more graphic example of a soul volunteering for a terrible assignment was that of one of my subjects who elected in her last life to join, with 3 others of her soul group, the bodies of Jewish women taken from Munich into the death camp at Dachau in 1941. All were assigned to the same barracks, also prearranged, where my client died in 1943 at age 18, comforting the children and trying to help them survive. Her mission was accomplished with courage. While events, race, culture, and geographic location often appear to come first in the selection process, they are not the most significant choices for the soul's next life. Aside from all other considerations, incarnation comes down to souls making that all-important decision of a specific body and what can be learned by utilizing the brain of a certain human being. The next chapter is devoted to an analysis of why souls choose their bodies for various biological and psychological reasons. 13. Choosing a new body. In the place of life selection, our souls preview the lifespan of more than one human being within the same time cycle. When we leave this area, most souls are inclined toward one leading candidate presented to us for soul occupation. However, our spiritual advisors give us ample opportunity to reflect upon all we have seen in the future before making a final decision. This chapter is devoted to the many elements which go into that decision. Our deliberations over body alternatives actually begin before we go to the place of life selection. Souls do this in order to adequately prepare themselves for viewing certain people in different cultural settings on Earth. I sense those souls who set up the screening room know in advance what to show us because of these thoughts in our minds. Great care must be taken in choosing just the right body to serve us in the life to come.
They know what to put out there. They know. So they have an idea. They have a roadmap of what you're more susceptible to.
As I have said, guides and peer group members are part of this evaluation process prior to and after we visit the place of life selection. When listening to my subjects describe all the preparations which go into picking a new physical body, I am constantly reminded of the fluidity of spiritual time. Our teachers use relative future time in the place of life selection to allow souls to measure human usefulness for working on unfinished lesson plans.
Unfinished lesson plans. Unfinished lesson plans that you are not aware of when you're down here. Hello. Again, born ignorant, mind wipe. What lessons are you going to learn if you are not aware of the lessons you're supposed to take and apply? How are you supposed to grow when you're not aware of the damn things?
Blueprints for the next life vary in the degree of difficulty the soul mind sets for itself. If we have just come off an easy life, making little interpersonal progress, our soul might want to choose a person in the next time cycle who will face heartache and perhaps tragedy. It is not out of the ordinary for me to see someone who has skated through an unchallenging life, overloading themselves with turmoil in the next one to catch up with their learning goals.
Yeah, they got to catch up and they got to be miserable, okay? They didn't deserve that easy street life that they had before. And let's not fool ourselves. There is no easy street. There is, some lives are a little more manageable than others, obviously. I mean, and obviously some are way more miserable. But let's not fool ourselves there. If you're in a body, you're still going to be prone to what comes along with this experience. And yeah, some people do have a cakewalk, but doesn't matter. They're still in a body.
Soul mind is far from infallible, as it works in conjunction with a biological brain. Regardless of our soul level, being human means we will all make mistakes, and have the necessity of engaging in mid-course corrections during our lives.
Mid-course corrections, huh? But again, let's go back and what we were just talking about a minute ago, and how you don't know. You don't know, okay? If you screw up, you should just correct things because you know inside you certain things are wrong and how relationships, the way you handled it.
This will be true with any body we select. Before taking up the more complex mental factors in a soul's decision to join with the brain of a human baby, I will begin with the physical aspects of body choice. Despite the fact that our souls know in advance what they are going to look like, a national survey in the United States indicated 90% of both males and females were dissatisfied with the physical characteristics of their bodies. This is the power of conscious amnesia. Much unhappiness is created by society's stereotyping an ideal appearance. Yet this too is part of a soul's lesson plan. How many times have we all looked in a mirror and said, "Is this the real me? Why do I appear this way? Am I in a body where I belong?"
No, you really, no, this is not an organic form of us at all. It's a freaking nightmare, okay? And it's part of the parasitic system that is the Matrix Reincarnation Soul Trap. I am so sick of Earth's a school, there's lessons, it's this, it's that. It's all crap. All crap, New Age hocus pocus, and even before the New Age, this theory of Earth as a school, this constant bombardment of that type of wordage passed down generation after generation is nothing short of insane. Insane.
These questions are especially poignant when the type of body we have prevents us from doing those things we think we ought to be able to do in life. I have had a number of clients who came to me convinced their bodies prevented them from achieving satisfying lives. Many handicapped people think if it were not for a genetic mistake or being the victim of an accidental injury which damaged their body, their lives would be more fulfilled. As heartless as this may sound, my cases show few real accidents involving body damage which don't fall under the free will of souls. As souls, we choose our bodies for a reason. Living in a damaged body does not necessarily have to involve a karmic debt we are paying off because of past life responsibility for an injury to someone else. As my next case will demonstrate, when a soul is inside a damaged body, this choice can involve a learning path to another type of lesson.
Lessons, lessons, lessons. In a damaged body, it's wonderful. It's all lessons.
It is difficult to tell a newly injured person trying to cope with physical disablement that he or she has an opportunity to advance at a faster rate than those of us with healthy bodies and minds. This knowledge must come through self-discovery. The case histories of my clients convince me that the effort necessary to overcome a body impediment does accelerate advancement.
I honestly, I could pause and scream at this entire segment, but I'm not. I'm just going to let it keep going. But just know everything you are hearing in this is insane. Okay? It's the normalization. I'll bring the term forward one more time. Earth is the biggest case of Stockholm Syndrome on steroids you will ever see or experience. Okay? The normalization that society has come to accept is ridiculous. I don't care what school of thought you're coming from. If you've lived here long enough, even as a young child, you should be able to look around you at what's going on and have a rational thought process that something is extremely wrong down here. Okay? Something is really wrong. And the sooner you come to grips with that, the better. It's not easy to accept. So anyone new to this material, I please keep looking. Don't just look at my material. Keep looking. But just make sure that information you're consuming on this topic specifically must be rooted in sovereignty. Don't listen to people telling you to go here or go there or follow this guru or follow that guru or this so-called master or that master. You have to have everything rooted in sovereignty. There are a lot of nasty channels out there that are trying to tell you what to do. What does that do? It gives away consent. Okay? You're consenting to go along with someone else's advice, which could be the worst decision you've ever made. And who knows, if you make that decision that is not conducive to your liberation and sovereignty, what that means. Because what happens is you end up back here, memory wiped, and who knows what lifetime you're going to come to down the road when you figure this out again. And even then, guess what? There'll be information ready and waiting there to derail you again. I think the chances of escaping this place are so thin, it's not even funny. So if you're not, you better hope you get it right. And if it's not rooted in sovereignty and withdrawing consent at the time of death, you're rolling the dice more than anything you can imagine. So please, just if anyone's telling you there's no Palladians coming to save you, there's no Greys, there's no gurus coming to save you. It's not happening. There's no savior. Anything about a savior is savior programming. It's a program set in place to get you to give yourself away to something else. And that's what we have to avoid. Please, just keep that in mind. If my voice isn't the right one for you, that's fine, but just make sure whatever you're consuming out there isn't going to have you lead you astray with attachments and gurus and telling you to go in between the net or go here or go there or go to the not the white light but the gold light or this or that or go to this or that. Just please, that's all I'm saying. So again, if my messaging, I know I can be a little rough at times. I know I can come on, I'm very sarcastic and stuff, but this is the way I deliver things. But just remember, if you're taking in information, please, 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 don't let anyone take a piece of you. Any piece of you. Because that's how we got here. That's how all this is functioning right now. And there are a lot of nasty, bad actors out there trying to steal that. Because people looking this up, they know something's wrong. And just like there's agents out there in the truth circles, same thing in spiritual. It's in every sector of society. It doesn't matter where we are. It's out there. And it's ready to try and control your mind. And we can't have that. So please just take that into consideration. That's all I ask.
Those of us whom society deems less than perfect suffer discrimination, which makes the burden even heavier. Overcoming the obstacles of physical ailments and hurt makes us stronger for the ordeal. Our bodies are an important part of the trial we set for ourselves in life.
Oh, yeah.
The freedom of choice we have with these bodies is based far more on psychological elements than from the estimated 100,000 genes inherited by each human being. However, I want to show in the opening case of this chapter why souls want certain bodies based largely on physical reasons without heavy psychological implications. The case exhibits the planning involved in the decision of a soul to be in contrasting physical bodies in different lives. After this case, we will examine why souls choose their bodies for other reasons. Case 26 was a tall, well-proportioned woman who enjoyed participating in sports, despite being bothered all her life with recurring leg pains. During her preliminary interview, I learned the pain was a dull ache in both legs, about midway down the thigh bones. Over a period of years, she had been to a number of doctors who could find no medical evidence of anything wrong with her legs. Clearly, she was worn down and willing to try anything for relief. When I heard the doctors had concluded her discomfort was probably psychosomatic, I suspected the origin of this woman's pain might lie in a past life. Before going to the source of her problem, I decided to take my client through a couple of past lives to ascertain her motivations for body choices. When I asked her to tell me about a life in which she was the happiest with a human body, she told me of being in the body of a Viking called Leth, around 800 A.D. She said Leth was a child of nature, who traveled by the Baltic Sea route into western Russia.
Oh boy.
Leth was described as wearing a long fur-lined cloak and soft, form-fitting animal skin pants, with roped-up boots and a cap wrapped with metal. He carried an axe and a heavy, broad-bladed sword, which he wielded easily in battle. My subject was intrigued by the picture in her mind of again being inside this magnificently proportioned warrior, with dirty strands of reddish-blonde hair spilling all over my shoulders. Standing well over 6 feet tall, he must have been a giant of his time, with enormous strength, a huge chest, and powerful limbs. A man of great endurance, Leth navigated with other Norsemen over long distances, sailing up rivers and hiking through thick virgin forests, pillaging settlements along the way. Leth was killed during a raid while looting a village. Case 26.
Okay, before we pop into case 26, I believe, please don't quote me on this one, but I believe this one is fairly short. So what I'm just going to do is, I am out of water. I'm going to throw up the break clock. It's going to say 5 minutes and 30 seconds or something like that, but I'm just going to go fill my water and come back. So it'll only be a couple minutes. So just hang in there briefly, and I'll be right back. Thank you. Okay, thank you for your patience. Sorry about that. It took a little longer than I expected. The Archons got to my dog. She yacked on the floor. Or good. Who knows what she got into, but anyway, she's fine. Okay. So, let's continue. So this is case, I think 26, right? Okay, let me just put that marker down. 237. 30. Alright, so let's continue here.
And hiking through thick virgin forests, pillaging settlements along the way. Leth was killed during a raid while looting a village. Case 26. Dr. N. What was most important to you about this life you have just recalled as Leth the Viking? Subject. To experience that magnificent body and the feeling of raw physical power. I have never had another body like that one in all my existences on Earth. I was fearless because my body did not react to pain even when wounded. In every respect, it was flawless. I never got sick. Dr. N. Was Leth ever mentally troubled by anything? Was there any emotional sensitivity for you in this life? Subject bursts out laughing. Are you kidding? Never. I lived only for each day. My concerns were not getting enough fighting, plunder, food, drink, and sex. All my feelings were channeled into physical pursuits. What a body. Dr. N. All right, let's analyze your decision to choose this great body in advance of Leth's life. At the time you made your choice in the spirit world, did you request this body of good genetic stock, or did your guide simply make the selection for you? Subject. Counselors don't do that. Dr. N. Then explain to me how this body came to be chosen by you. Subject. I wanted one of the best physical specimens on Earth at the time, and Leth was offered to me as a possibility. Dr. N. You had only one choice? Subject. No, I had two choices of people living in this time. Dr. N. What if you didn't like any of the body choices presented to you for occupation in that time segment? Subject, thoughtfully. The alternatives of my choices always seem to match what I want to experience in my lives. Dr. N. Do you have the sense the counselors know in advance which body selections are exactly right for you? Or are they so harried it's just an indiscriminate grab bag of body choices? Subject. Nothing here is careless. The counselors arrange everything. Dr. N. I have wondered if the counselors might get mixed up once in a while. With all the new babies born, could they ever assign two souls to one baby? Or leave a baby without a soul for a while? Subject, laughing. We aren't in an assembly line. I told you they know what they are doing. They don't make mistakes like that. Dr. N. I believe you. Now, as to your choices, I am curious if two bodies were sufficient for your examination in the place of life selection. Subject. We don't need a lot of choices for lives once the counselors get their heads together about our desires. I already had some idea of the right body size and shape, and the sex I wanted before being exposed to my two choices. Dr. N. What was the body choice you rejected in favor of Leth? Subject. Pause. That of a soldier from Rome, also with the strong body I wanted in that lifetime. Dr. N. What was wrong with being an Italian soldier? Subject. I didn't want control over me by the state. Subject shakes head from side to side. Too restrictive. Dr. N. As I remember, by the 9th century, much of Europe had fallen under the authority of Charlemagne's Holy Roman Empire. Subject. That was the trouble with the soldier's life. As a Viking, I answered to nobody. I was free. I could move around with my band of invaders in the wilderness without any governmental control.
Alright, so see how, here we go again, the trade-off. Okay, so you want to be free from the state, but you have a group of invaders that you're leading as a Viking, supposedly. And you're basically raising hell on people's lives inside of the Earth system. And so what are you doing? You're furthering the agenda. They love that. They love it. Sure. Okay, we'll give you a little bit of extra freedom. You don't have to worry about dealing with the state, this and that. Oh, hell, we'll even give you a boat, give you a crew. As long as you're inflicting suffering, you're hired.
Dr. N. Then freedom was also an issue in your choice. Subject. Absolutely. The freedom of movement, the fury of battle, the use of my strength and uninhibited action. Life at sea and in the forests was robust and constant. I know the life was cruel, too, but it was a brutal time. I was no better or worse than the rest. Dr. N. But what about other considerations, such as personality? Subject. Nothing bothered me as long as I was able to physically express myself to the fullest. Dr. N. Did you have a mate, children? Subject. Shrugs. Too restrictive. I was on the move. I possessed many women, some willing, others not. And this pleasure added to my expression of physical power. I didn't want to be tied down in any way. Dr. N. So the body of Leth was your preference, as a pure physical extension of sensual feeling? Subject. Yes. I wanted to experience all body senses to the fullest, nothing more. I felt my subject was now ready to go to work on her current problem. After bringing her out of superconscious into a subconscious state, I asked her to go directly to a life which may have involved leg pain. Almost at once, the woman dropped into her most recent past life and became a 6-year-old girl named Ashley, living in New England in the year 1871. Ashley was riding in a fully loaded, horse-drawn carriage when suddenly she opened the door and tumbled out under the vehicle. When she hit the cobblestone street, one of the heavy rear carriage wheels rolled over her legs at the same point above both knees, crushing the bones.
Okay, listen to this story. Wait till we get a little deeper in this one. It's gonna blow you away. I think I brought this one up before, and I don't think it was in this series, but some of my more recent videos, I brought it up at least once or twice.
My subject re-experienced a sharp pain in her legs while describing the fall. Despite efforts from local physicians and the prolonged use of wood splints, Ashley's leg bones did not heal properly. She was never able to stand or walk again, and poor circulation caused repeated swelling in her legs for the rest of a rather short life. Ashley died in 1912, after a productive period of years as a writer and tutor of disadvantaged children. When the narration of Ashley's life ended, I returned my subject to the spirit world. Dr. N. In your history of body choices, why did you wait 1,000 years between being a physically strong man and a crippled woman? Subject. Well, of course I developed a better sense of who I was during the lives in between. I chose to be crippled to gain intellectual concentration.
Can you believe that? I chose to be crippled in exchange for intellect. You believe that? Wait till you hear where this goes.
Dr. N. You chose a broken body for this? Subject. Yes, you see, being unable to walk made me read and study more. I developed my mind and listened to my mind. I learned to communicate well and to write with skill because I wasn't distracted. I was always in bed. Dr. N. Was any characteristic about your soul particularly evident in both Ashley and Leth the Viking? Subject. That part of me which craves fiery expression was in both bodies. Dr. N, I want you to go to the moment you were in the process of choosing the life of Ashley. Tell me how you decided on this particular damaged body. Subject, I picked a family in a well-established, settled part of America. I wanted a place with libraries, and to be taken care of by loving parents, so I could devote myself to scholarship. I constantly wrote to many unhappy people, and became a good teacher. Dr. N, as Ashley, what did you do for this loving family who took care of you? Subject, it always works two ways, the benefits and liabilities. I chose this family because they needed the intensity of love with someone totally dependent upon them all their lives. We were very close as a family because they were lonely before I was born. I came late as their only child. They wanted a daughter who would not marry and leave them to be lonely again. Dr. N, so it was a trade-off. Subject, most definitely.
It was a trade-off. A life of suffering, a horrible injury. And what do they get? They get a family that gets to take care of them, which I guess is good, right? They get to read more and have more intellectual curiosity, as they said. But you have to ask yourself, why are these trade-offs happening? Kind of like the Viking, right? We just heard the Viking story where they're claiming, you know, they wanted to not be, have their life being interrupted by the state. So the trade-off was, okay, we give you the ship, we give you the crew, and, you know, you inflict pain on others. This case is, okay, you get a family that is well off, wanting a child, but the injury comes along with it. Even though Anne is claiming to have a hand in this, but how far did the suggestion go for that to occur? You have to ask yourself where this, you know, where does Anne's decision making start and the entity's decision making and influence start? End, I guess. It's nuts. It's just insane. It's sick.
Dr. N, then let's track this decision further back to the place of life selection. When your soul first saw Ashley's life, did you see the details of your carriage accident then? Subject, of course, but it wasn't an accident. It was supposed to happen.
Wasn't an
Dr.
accident.
N,
Supposed to happen.
once you came to Earth, who was responsible for the fall? Was it your soul mind or Ashley's biological mind? Subject, we worked in unison.
We worked in unison. Just gonna rewind that quick.
But it wasn't an accident. It was supposed to happen. Dr. N, once you came to Earth, who was responsible for the fall? Was it your soul mind or Ashley's biological mind? Subject, we worked in unison. She was going to be fooling with the carriage door handle, and I capitalized on that. Dr.
See what I mean? You hearing this shit? This one infuriated me. This is why I've talked about this case before, because it's just... Let me just rewind that brief moment. I mean, I hate to rewind this stuff, but I really want to make sure this is sinking in, because this is one of the most glaring cases you can listen to in the whole book.
But it wasn't an accident. It was supposed to happen. Dr. N, once you came to Earth, who was responsible for the fall? Was it your soul mind or Ashley's biological mind? Subject. We worked in unison. She was going to be fooling with the carriage door handle, and I capitalized on that. Dr. N. Tell me what was going through your soul mind in the life selection room when you saw the scene of Ashley falling and being injured. Subject. I thought about how this crippled body could be put to good use. I had some...
How this crippled body can be put to good use. Insane. Normalization, again, everyone, it's this big fog going on. This huge overlay of fog and fuckery going on and on and on. It's never ending. It's never ending. And there's massive interference going on.
Other choices for body injuries, but I preferred this one because I didn't want to have the capability for much movement. Dr. N.
Yeah.
I want to pursue the issue of causality here. Would Ashley have fallen anyway if she had a soul other than your own? Subject. Defensively. We were right for each other. Dr. N. That doesn't answer my question. Subject. Long pause. There are forces beyond my knowledge as a spirit. When I saw Ashley for the first time, I was able to see her without me. Healthy. Older. Another life possibility. Dr. N. Now we are getting somewhere. Are you saying if Ashley had begun her life with another soul entity, that she might not have fallen at all? Subject. Yes. That's a possibility. One of many. She could also have been less severely injured, with the ability to walk on crutches. Dr. N. Well, did you see a physically healthy Ashley living happily without your soul? Subject. I saw a grown woman, normal legs, unhappiness with a man, frustration at being trapped in an unrewarding life, sorrowful parents, but easier. Voice becomes more firm.
You cannot help. Honestly, this case just, every time I've heard it, it just gets me extremely emotional and just disgusted. And just think for one moment that this is one example of how many, for how long this has been going on. This is one example. It is heartbreaking to listen to this. And it's just normalized. No big deal. Why would you plan to come to Earth and you can't even walk? And you want to exchange it? The exchange process is being able to experience this world in a different fashion and be able to have knowledge and a little bit of comfort financially because of who your parents are. Just it's so heartbreaking and just sick.
No, that course would not have worked well for either of us. I was the best soul for her. Dr. N. Were you the prime mover of the fall once you elected to become Ashley's soul? Subject. It was both of us.
It was both of us. Again.
We were one at that moment. She was being naughty, bouncing around in the carriage, playing with the door handle when her mother said she must stop.
Hear that? You hear how sick that is? So she's playing with the door handle. Mother's telling her she's got to stop. And so this is the reward you receive.
Then I was ready and she was ready. Dr. N.
It was a possession.
Just how rigid was your destiny?
This is like a soul possession going on where they come in at these moments in life. And they are life-changing, altering events. Either known or unknown. but unknown, because this is a regression. I think those at the tippity top have some retention of memory. They're not necessarily going to know something like this, but as long as it's leading down a negative highway, good to go. Good to go. No problem at all, right? Everything's A-okay.
Once you were Ashley's soul, was there any way you could have backed out of this entire incident in the carriage? Subject. Pause. I can tell you I had a flash just before I fell. I could have pulled back and not fallen out. A voice inside my mind said, "It's an opportunity. Don't wait any longer. Take the fall. This is what you wanted. It's the best course of action."
Hear this?
Dr. N. Was that particular moment important? Subject. I didn't want Ashley to get too much older. Dr. N. But the pain and suffering this child went through.
Yeah, exactly.
Subject. It was horrible. The agony of those first 5 weeks was beyond belief. I almost died. But I learned from enduring it all. And I now see the memories of Leth's capacity for managing pain helped me. Dr. N.
Yeah, what a help.
Did your inner mind have any regrets during those moments when the pain was most severe? Subject. As I slipped in and out of consciousness during the worst of the ordeal, my mind began gaining in power, overriding my damaged body. I started to better control the pain. Lying in bed, the doctors helpless. The skills I developed in managing pain were later used to concentrate on my studies, and my counselor was helping me too, in subtle ways. Dr. N. So you gained a lot in this life by being unable to walk. Subject. Yes. I became a listener and a thinker. I corresponded with many people and learned to write with inspiration. I gained teaching ability with the young and felt guided by an internal power. Dr. N. Was your counselor proud of your accomplishments after you returned to the spirit world? Subject. Very. Although I was told I had become a little too indulged and pampered. Laughs. But that's an okay trade-off. Dr. N. How does your experience with the strong body of Leth...
Just want to say, again, the trade-off for pampering, a life, an injury that is life-changing, preventing you from walking. Oh, but you were pampered. Oh, so everything, that's fine. It's a trade-off. It's a trade-off. See the sickness going on here? I rewinded it just a little bit because I interrupted. Sorry.
Teaching ability with the young and felt guided by an internal power. Dr. N. Was your counselor proud of your accomplishments after you returned to the spirit world? Subject. Very. Although I was told I had become a little too indulged and pampered. Laughs. But that's an okay trade-off. Dr. N. How does your experience with the strong body of Leth and the weak one of Ashley help you today? Or is this of no consequence? Subject. I benefit every day by my appreciation of the necessity of a union between mind and body to learn lessons. During my client's reliving of the street scene which broke her legs, I initiated desensitization measures. At the close of our session together, I then deprogrammed her generational memory of leg pain entirely. This woman later notified me she has had no further pain and regularly enjoys playing tennis.
And I think we brought this up before. This is a common thing with hypnosis. But you do have to be careful who you allow to hypnotize you. But, people have stopped smoking. They've been able to get rid of certain pain. Various help with trauma. various other trauma, mental, physical, that might be plaguing them for portions of their lives. And hypnosis can help in many ways. You just have to be very careful who you allow to do it. Look up their credentials, make sure they're certified, make sure they've been doing it for a few years. See if you can get some actual accounts of people who might be willing to talk to you. Speak with the hypnotist yourself before you even make an appointment. Talk to him on the phone a little bit. So if these are areas you're looking to go, I just can't say it enough. You just have to be careful who you allow in your life under that type of condition, because remember, we're talking about your memory, we're talking about we're talking about, it's too many things that you should be very careful. That's the bottom line. So kind of lost my train of thought there, but you get the point.
The 2 past lives I have represented in this case were largely devoted to physical choices for soul actualization in 2 quite different environments. Souls search for self-expression by developing different aspects of their character. Regardless of what physical or mental tools are used through the use of many bodies, the laws of karma will prevail. If the soul chooses one extreme, somewhere down the line this will be counterbalanced by an opposite choice to even out development. The physical lives of Leth and Ashley are examples of karmic compensation. The Hindus believe a rich man sooner or later must become a beggar for his soul to develop adequately. By surviving different challenges, our soul identity is strengthened. The word strength should not be misunderstood. My subjects say the real lessons of life are learned by recognizing and coming to terms with being human. Even as victims, we are beneficiaries because it is how we stand up to failure and duress, which really marks our progress in life. Sometimes one of the most important lessons is to learn to just let go of the past. While souls carefully consider the physical attributes of an earth body in a variety of cultural settings, they give much more attention to the psychological aspects of human life. This decision is the most vital part of the entire selection process for the soul. Before entering the place of life selection, it is to a soul's advantage to ponder the factors of heredity and environment which affect how a biological life form will function. I have heard that a soul's spiritual energy has a fluctuating influence on whether the temperament of its human host will be extroverted or introverted, rationalistic or idealistic, emotionally or analytically dominated. Because of such variables, souls need to reflect in advance on the types of bodies which will serve them best in the life to come. From what I can gather, a soul's thoughts about certain human behavior preferences for themselves in the next life are known by guides and those masters charged with operating the life selection stations. It appears to me some souls take this responsibility more seriously than others. Yet a soul in the pre-life selection phase can reflect only so much on how they would fit into a specific body. When souls are called to the place of life selection, the guesswork is over. Now they must match their spiritual identity against a mortal being. Why one soul joined for psychological reasons with 2 human beings thousands of years apart is the basis of my next case. Case 27 is a Texas businessman who owns a large, successful clothing firm. During a vacation...
Okay, so I am going to leave it at that for today. I'm just going to bear with me a minute and talk for a couple minutes, and then I'm going to wrap things up. I just want to make sure I have everything documented for the timestamps and for the next case. Let me just get this figured out. Okay, that is minus. Okay, 1 hour 58. Case 27. 57. Okay. Alright, I think I got that all set. Stopped at 30650. Okay, so now that I have that all set for the next video, if anyone wants to pop up any questions really quick, I'm not going to be able to go back all the way to the chat, but you know, any questions or comments, concerns, whatever it may be, just feel free to pop it in there and we can have a short maybe 15-minute talk, and then we'll pop on to the next one, which will be sometime this week, possibly Wednesday or Thursday, but definitely by the weekend we'll have another installment. So okay, yes, hashtag last timers. Just remember, last time, this is it. So yeah, we've got to laugh at the insanity. It's a necessity. I swear, like I said earlier, and a few of you even said the same thing. If we were not able to laugh at the ridiculousness that is the Earth experience, probably would have been gone long ago. So, and what's funny is it gets more insane as each year goes by, right? I mean, it's just, look at just society and culture and politics and all this stuff. I mean, it's just insane. So, but the funny thing is, the insanity provides us much humor. So enjoy that. Okay, Benny says, we are all surrounded by hypnotic programming every day. Media, movies, sports, news, weather, all use hypnotic countdowns, colors, and symbols to entertain the population. Yes, well said, my friend. You're spot on. Spot on. CE5 says, stay happy, it's the only way, but a challenge. Yeah, I mean, you gotta try and, you know, course further your knowledge, your exploration through whatever means that may be, through, you know, research, meditation, astral travel if you can, affirmations, mindfulness alarms, all that stuff, to try and keep yourself as centered as possible without going too far in either direction, because we have to remain aware, but we gotta laugh and we gotta continue to grow our knowledge as well. That's so important. PK says, I wish I could say last time. I'm afraid of falling for something. I need to start meditating. PK, you have it in you. You have it in you, my friend. It's okay. It's okay. You're gonna make it. You're gonna be fine. Just don't allow yourself that about falling for something. Look, we're just gonna shut it down right when it starts. But the key thing is yeah, we gotta just work on it a little bit now. That's all. That's it. You know, it's okay. We got time. And, you know, I'm going to do some videos on things like affirmations and then, of course, how to exit the reincarnation trap. That's going to be, of course, my plan, but I think some of you can take pieces of it and apply it to your own, because everyone has to have their own plan on how they're going to do this. But remember, it all comes down to consent. All of it. You just have to deny the illusions and go within, set up a protective bubble of sorts, and zoom the hell out of here. Where everything goes from there, my friend, is, you know, nobody knows. But it's really, really important that don't allow that doubt. You are so much stronger and so much better than that, my friend. Please, please, hang in there. You're going to be just fine. Don't put that doubt out there. Just you know, set that intention with every fiber of your being, because you're here, you're listening to this. You know, I'm sure you've listened to all sorts of other things too. So just make sure that you're grounded in sovereignty, and your intention is to escape. Deny the illusions when they come crawling, and you'll be just fine. Lone Traveler says, thanks for another great stream. I see you to bomb. Thank you. Thank you for joining me. I still have an email. There's actually a number of you who have been emailing me, and I'm just way behind. So please, if you have emailed me, just hang in there. I will get to it over the next, few days to a week. But I just, sometimes I get overwhelmed, so I just take breaks, but I always get back to everybody. It just might take me a little while, but I promise I will return each and every one of your emails, and I try to respond to as many comments as well. I get backed up, that's all. We're all in this together, but we're also on our individual journey, but we all have the same goal in mind, and that's to rid this cycle and put a stop to it for our own well-being, preservation, sovereignty, freeness, liberation, all that. PK says, these controllers feed off this torture. Absolutely. Absolutely. There's no doubt about that. That is 100% fact. CE5 says, great show. We'll come here again. Thank you for this experience and nice meeting you all. Hey, nice having you with us. And I hope you have fun tonight if you're going out. Ann says, thanks for a great live stream. You're welcome. Thank you for joining as always. Ann, that's great. BB says, last timers, I like that. Yes, that's right. We just keep saying stuff like that. Just keep having that little part of your day that is putting that message and intention out there. Don't worry, you're going to connect with it just fine when we leave here. The key thing is just to be aware of whatever weaknesses, your biggest weaknesses that you have that are related to this world. Like, I'll tell you some of mine. And this will go to the how to exit the reincarnation matrix down the road. But a big one that I'm aware of is like I love nature. I love walking in the woods. I love animals. I love flowers. I love pets. Like my dogs. I know they're gonna try and use my dogs, but I'm gonna shut that down right away. I have family too. All this stuff. These are all things that they're going to use against us, but we're going to shut it down right away. We're not even going to let it go. Basically, the way I see it is this. One image is going to pop up, and I'm going to be like, bah, okay, we're done. I do not consent. I have my shield up, my astral shield, or whatever we want to call it, and I will, I do not consent to this experience. I'm a sovereign being, and I wish to be whisked out of this entire universe that is related to this matrix and its sub-realms. We'll do it. We're going to be just fine, my friends. Everyone's going to be fine. Let's see. Night Sky says, FC, so much information and great commentary. Was with you all the way. Great, thank you. Glad you found some value out of it, Night Sky. CE5 says, do we enter the light or turn around and go the other way? Whoa, yeah, no, we do not go to the light. And you don't turn around and go towards anything, in my opinion. What you do is once you're dying and you start to see the illusions that will, whatever it may be, like the things I just mentioned. It could be your pets. It could be your family members. It could be a nature scene. Heck, it could even be something, like you're into CE5. It could be something like beautiful orbs or what have you. It could be beautiful clouds. Who knows what it's going to be. The point is there's going to be something coming in to distract you and start to slowly chip away at you to get sucked back in. And you just have to shut it down right away. And I went over the rest of it before that. So, but again, keep an eye out. It's still going to be at least a month or two till I get the how to exit the Soul Trap video out. Because it's something I just can't rush. It's There's a lot to it, and I just want to make sure it's done right. That's all. But hang in there, it's coming. Okay, PK says FC came up with last timer. Oh, really? That's cool. Oh, you talking about the phrase. Okay, yes. Yeah. I thought you were talking about like in a search or something. Woo. Okay, it went right over my head. Yes, last timers. All of us. Okay, Disintegral Lee says, hysterical laughter is a good way to go, for sure. C5 says, end times, question mark, not sure. If end times come, it comes. I welcome the complete termination of this entire realm from start to finish. It should be completely shut down, and all of its sub-realms that link to it. Everyone should be set free. It's disgusting what's going on here. Lone Travis says, okay, says C5, I'm running the other way. Disensical says, no one gets out alive. Well, no, I'm not in a body. Hell no. Benny says, thank you, FC, for another excellent live stream. As Night said, in the great commentary. Thank you. I think I repeated that. If I did, I apologize. Okay, you're welcome, CE5. BB says, we're going to make it. That's right. We're all going to make it. We'll be just fine. We're going to be fine. Okay. Night Sky says, important to keep hearing about this all from different sources. The repetition will dispel the denial that is instilled in us. Yes, that's exactly. You just keep, you don't have to obsess over it every moment of every day. You still got to live your life and be happy, but you need to be reminding yourself of that, because we have so much more power. Remember, just think about this, PK specifically. Think about all of the effort that they put in to managing us. Think about all these systems that we've been analyzing and discussing together. Think about that. Think about all the effort that just goes on here while we're in the body. All this stuff. It is so ridiculously over the top that it makes sense that we have way more power than we've ever been led on to believe, and that it's probably so simple to get out of here once you know the mechanisms to expect, because we know what to expect. We have a rough outline of what's going to happen and what they're going to try, and boom. If all it takes is shutting it down and denying the illusion, and that is what it takes. I know that. I know that with every fiber in my being. I do. It's hard to convey it, I guess, when it's like an inner knowing, but that's just where I'm at in it, and I think it really is that simple, because they try so damn hard. So hard. All this stuff, all this manipulation, it's just ridiculous. No end in sight to it, because the whole thing is illusion, based on the illusion and the sucking you in and going along with the experience and releasing that consent. It's only logical that we deny that consent. We don't allow it. It's not allowed to even enter our area, and for the millisecond that it pops up, we're going to be like, nope, bye-bye, we're out. We're done. Peace. Get out of here. Alright, you're welcome, BB. Thank you. Great to have you as always. PK, back to you, BB. Excuse me. C5 says, thanks. FC, I have given this some thought. Great answer. Okay. Yeah, definitely, yeah. Keep looking inside yourself and be sure to deny the illusion. You'll be alright. Disventricle says, but also not to fixate on these things. There is always more to it, more layers to reveal. I wonder if this angle is helpful sometimes. We should be prepared to have our cynicism proven wrong. Well, Lee, you're on your own, buddy. I'm sorry. I'm with you on as far as some of that relates to almost anything else. But with this, it's inside me, and it's a fiery, fiery knowing. I just know it, and I'm not saying you should believe it or anything like that, but I just think having that door even open is not good. It's not. It's just in my opinion. I don't think it's a good place to be. It's nothing personal or anything like that. It's just it's something I have just for years now. I've felt this the same way. It has not changed, and I've reflected on it endlessly through meditation and just really going deep inside myself, and even the whole mechanism of the trap. If you were in my body the day that I knew within me that it was something, I just knew. I knew right away. It was the most overwhelming confirmation I have ever received my entire life. My body was borderline convulsing. It was incredible rush of all knowing of that in that moment. Something inside of me just gave me the most knowing of all knowings that I've ever had. And again, it's like I don't know how you explain that to someone except for saying what I just said. It's very hard to convey into words unless you experience something like that. But just feel free to either trust me or not on that. I don't know. It's just, again, I can't. It's not something I could ever put into words. I wish I'd do my best to convey it. PK says, thank you, FC and everyone here. Yes, thank you, PK and everyone else here. I agree, absolutely. We've had so many great conversations lately, and I wish I could have been mixed up in some of them earlier, but trying to push through the book. But I've read segments off and on, and you guys are really thinking deep and being there for each other. It's really great to see that in our little corner of the internet. And remember, my videos are just like everyone else's videos. It's a small stepping stone in your journey, and should always try to find others who are talking about it too. Just again, as long as it's based in sovereignty and liberation and no one telling you where to go. A good example is like, not going to the light but turning around. Well, from everything I have gathered, the light and not turning around, yeah, it's another type of realm, but it's linked right here to the Earth's matrix. So I think the last thing you ever want to do is hang around and turn around and tango with that ideology. I think it's frankly a very dangerous place to be, because you're still under the umbrella of the realm. You know what I'm saying? How do you know turning around isn't gonna, there's not gonna be something there waiting? I think it's just asserting yourself, going within, being hell-bent on getting out of here and denying all of the illusions. And in the movie Soul, he turns around. They have the staircase toward the light, okay? And he turns around, and where does that lead? He's trying to get back to Earth, and what does he do? He ends up back in like this loop, and then eventually, they keep popping him back up, every time he turns around and tries to deny it, and then they end up eventually just saying, okay, this guy's a persistent motherfucker, so I'm just gonna plop him into this world. And what's there? He's plopped into a what the heck's the guy's name? I can't think of it right now, but he's one of the chief entities there, and there's this class going on with these baby souls, okay, like an indoctrination class. So that's where that led. And there, I'm not saying that's definitely what's going to happen, but the point is I think is to just get out of the system completely, because turning around is, I don't know, I would be very careful. That's all. Again, I'm not shitting on anyone. I'm just very the path I'm trying to convey is just where you don't even entertain this direction or that direction. None of that. You're just going within and boosting your ass out of here. And there'll be some sort of knowing that comes along with that as well. So, okay. Let's see, what else do we got here? I thought I moved this, but I guess I didn't. Sorry, I got a error that came up because my hard drive's running out of space. I gotta buy another hard drive, and I really don't want to. Anyways, so yeah, let me just go back really quick to this, and then we're probably going to wrap this up. If anyone has any last minute questions, things they want to share with us, as bounce off ideas or whatever, just pop it on up, and then probably be out of here in about 5 minutes, maybe a little less. BB says, I trust my intuition. That's great. Yeah, trust your intuition, and just remember that there is interference out there too, so you just gotta make sure that the intuition, even though by definition intuition is in, so to make sure that there's nothing you're allowing to pierce. So I think that's why the whole shield thing is so crucial to all of this. You're putting up a shield at the time of death where you are protecting yourself from outside influence, and also pronouncing that is not allowed. Interference is not allowed to be a part of your world in that moment or ever, right? Okay. C5 says, always trust your intuition. Yep. Yeah, our gut intuition is one of the most valuable assets we have here in life. The other thing I wanted to add is something about when we use the term, that video resonated with me, that book resonated with me, that information resonated with me. I will just say that I'm not sure about you guys, everyone's different, but maybe it's just my learning process, but I've had many things in life where I say, oh my God, I resonate so hard with that. It's, I just know it's the truth. I know it. But then after years or months or whatever, I stopped looking at that specific thing that I thought resonated with me, and I go back and I find out, whoa, not only is it not true, but it's ridiculously untrue, or there's the alternative is glaringly obvious, but I just didn't have all the information and I missed it. So there are times we just have to be a little careful. That's all. Not, again, not all this stuff is doom and gloom and blah blah blah. It's just just a way to protect yourself. I think that's really the important thing. Follow your gut. Yeah. CE5 says, my first experience, I was a child with a light being at the bottom of the staircase. My gut told me not to go near. Yeah. BB says, FC, if I see you when I died, I won't be stopping chat. No. I don't want to see any of you guys either. No. Have fun. I love y'all, but it's a one-man band when I'm out of here. Lone Trevor says, me too. I saw it clearly. I'll have to speak with FC about it further. Oh, you saw a light being? Yeah, pretty interesting stuff when that happens. Looks how and what it looks like, referring to the light being that CE5 was mentioning in the chat here. So PK says, thank you FC for your response, very uplifting. You're welcome. You're welcome. I hope we have so much power, so much more than we have been led to believe. We just have to assert it and deny anything trying to steal it. Okay. Okay, CE5 says, BB, I will never forget it was a shape similar to a person, but not a person. So, yeah, those experiences are wild. For anyone interested, I have, I don't know, some of you might have seen it. I have a couple of videos out there might be of interest. I have one that I did on where I ran into orbs on the trail about, I don't know, 4 or 5 months back, something like that. So if you go back in my fairly recent videos, about 4 or 5 months back or so, you'll see orb experience while hiking in the woods. That was a wild one, and we were right up next to it. It was underneath this huge set of trees. It was beautiful. Had a lot of fun too. But you can check that out. The other one that's might interest you guys is the rapid fire synchronicities video, where I was listening to a podcast, and as I was listening to the podcast, the person hosting it was saying things, and as they were saying things, they would appear in my reality while I was driving. And it went on for, I think, I don't know, like 25, 30 minutes, something like that. And even when I had almost not done this, but I was supposed to go somewhere and pulled over to go grab what I needed to get in a store. But because I was aware that the experience was happening and that all these ridiculous synchronicities were occurring, I still just tested. I said, let me just see if it continues. So I'd go into the store, get what I need to get, leave the store, and what do you know? I keep driving, and the synchronicities kept happening, I think, for another 10 or so minutes until I got to the final destination where I was supposed to be going. So, rapid fire synchronicities. I think it's called profound spiritual experience, something like that. The synchronicities are another tool that are used against us. But they're also some of the most fun things you can ever have. But it goes both ways. It's not all love and light, but they can be very, very profound and loosely help guide you sometimes if you're able to figure out some interpretations, etc. Benny says, in all these regressions, none of the souls addresses the false nature of this realm, such as history, space, science, news, maths, etc. Are we selecting out as a group that will... Are we selecting out as a group that they will not incarnate again by reorganizing the false nature of this realm? Yeah, I think they have to do a reset of some kind. I'm not talking financial. I'm thinking this is just totally speaking off the cuff here. I don't know if this is going to happen, but it will happen at some point no matter what, because they do implement these resets for a reason. And I suspect the Great Reset may entail something where they do wipe out a certain portion of the population around the world, that in order to implement the version of transhumanism that they want. Does that make sense? But that's, who knows if what will happen. But we know that they must be using these resets as society possibly becomes more enlightened and becomes aware of the scam. So there's probably this, enlightenment meter that's going on up there, and it's what happens is once it goes over a certain percentage, they say, boop, they hit the red button and do a reset. Just a guess. PK says the subject is hard to drop. I know you're ready to go, FC. I know what you're going through. Yeah, I am. I'm just kind of at the end of my ropes with a lot of stuff. I'm just tired. I think we all are, right? We're all tired. It's you have health issues too. It doesn't make things any easier. But basically the way I see it is I dedicate my my life to, a portion of my life to trying to help share what I've discovered in hopes that it can possibly help others. And then I think that goes to the next thing, that I think anyone out there who has kind of grown to learn this information and knows it to be true like I do and many of you do, if you can, maybe do a video, a blog, create a blog, create a channel somewhere. You don't even have to show your face, even if you just do like audio clips or something, and or like even a slide presentation, just something to throw out some of the information and get more ears hearing it, because I think where we can really help others is just putting it out there, and hopefully people that sense something's wrong might randomly run across and say, whoa, maybe there's something to this, and then they do their own research, because it does have a cascade effect. Looking into this stuff, because I didn't buy it hook, line, and sinker immediately, but it sure did ring true. But it still took me a few years to really sign on to it completely, which led into that experience I was talking about earlier, where I had this incredible confirmation that just words can't describe. Okay. C5 says, I was born in a house that a spiritualist sold my parents. Many things went on. My mom freaked out and they moved. Okay. Yeah, PK, check out the, if you're thinking about the, if you're talking about the story, check out the rapid fire synchronicities video and the orbs while hiking. Those are both two videos were done this year, actually. Okay. PK says, have to admit these live streams have the most respectable people, deep thinkers. I love it. Yeah, no, you guys are great. You guys really, some of the stuff you guys talk about is just incredible. We all really connect on a high level, and are open to a lot. Yeah, I think that's a big part of it too, is just being open and receptive to alternative information, and we tap into something too. It's really fascinating how the whole process works, and that's our true self. That's our true self. The questioning everything, not being satisfied with the bullshit answers that we've been sent over and over and over throughout our lifetime, and we've just known something was wrong, and we finally have figured out the key components to it. Excuse me. Okay, a couple more and then I'm going to wrap it up. Okay, Lone Traveler says, FC, going with the flow at death and riding the light energy wave, I think, is the first form of consent. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, well, even the consent to, to allow your family members and stuff like that. Like I think shutting that down right away and denying it. The pets, the religious figures like Jesus, Buddha, Muhammad, blah blah blah, all those things. Those just need to be shut down, because what are they doing? They're trying to drag you into their thing. But you know what, and I've talked about this before, this is something that's really not talked about, and it's really important. As you're leading into death, especially towards the end stages, and I'm going to do a video dedicated to this one specifically, but it'll also be in the reincarnation, how to escape reincarnation trap too. One of the nastiest things that's going on is, as people are on their deathbed, they start to have deathbed visions, okay? Deathbed communication, okay? Where usually very close friends, family members, loved ones, pets are coming to them and talking to them and saying, okay, well, just so you know, your time is coming near. You're going to have to come with us. And so right there's even things going on and being implemented, leading up to, your deathbed, like right on your deathbed. So that's how much manipulation is being implemented. So things like that is almost like a good training ground for people like us. Like when that time starts happening, if those things are attempted, we can shut them down right away, and deny them and tell them to go fuck themselves. C5 says, do you think we can open up portals with meditation? You can open portals, but not portals you can actually physically go through. But energy portals, where beings can come out of them, and portals, I think, also can be traversed in a way astrally. So you could start them in the physical with intention and through meditation, and then you can go and interact with them astrally in the astral realms. But nothing you can actually move through physically, as far as I know. I just don't think the human body's capable of that at all. But heck, you never know, right? That's just my opinion on it, though. Okay. Careful. Yeah, I wouldn't be messing with any portals. No. Again, what's the movement towards a portal? There's a consent going on there. You have to be careful, especially like if it's something you think your body can go through and all that stuff. But I would just, you put up proper protocols too. You're not consenting to anything taking you away from your free will and sovereign state. So it's just, I think the best thing to do is observe, explore, observe, but don't give consent and things like that when traveling around the astral realms, or when you're involved with altered states of consciousness, which you really should avoid the drug aspect to it. I'm not saying I haven't been down that road, because I have, but I just don't think it's necessary, especially if you're kind of already in this area of knowing, Excuse me. Alright, last couple comments, and I'm going to wrap things up. Alright, Locker says, good to see you, by the way. Souls who have sucked up too much negative energy from Earth have to be remolded and receive restoration. Yeah, they're going to try to do that to all of us, I'm sure. Yeah, they're going to have absolutely no chance in hell with this group of people. No chance. Locker says, I'm way behind you in the stream. Okay, so you're probably not going to hear this till later, my friend. Anyways, I hope you're doing well when you do get to this point. BB says, locker, that's dangerous. No one should fall for it. Yes, exactly. I agree. Yep. C5 says, well, I wonder if that's what I'm doing with CE5. Yeah, just CE5, the protocols behind all that are way too... there's too much in there that just isn't necessary. And Greer's just, in my opinion, a complete parasite. But I also thank Greer because he helped me figure that stuff out. I was able to interact with that and learn in incredible ways. Had I not run into that, I might not have figured out how that we can interact with the sky and orbs and anomalies and all sorts of cool things with clouds, even water we can interact with, all sorts of cool things. So but it's just so much unnecessary stuff. And not just that, I mean, Greer is blatantly an agent. His whole disclosure panel, all that stuff, that's all crap, all complete crap. Government information from start to finish, all funded. But hey, there was some value there. And just as long as you don't get sucked into the whole alien thing, which that's his thing. Oh, they're all good aliens too. So not only is he pushing alien crap, which is a psyop in and of itself, he's also saying that they're all friendly, which is insane. We're really dealing with interdimensional. Those are what aliens are. They're interdimensional beings. But they're not from outer space, coming in on spacecrafts, all that stuff. So, okay, last comment here from Anne. There are souls that should have been forbidden from incarnating here, so I know it's a dumping ground of steal, kill, destroy, and do as thou will debauchery. Yep, well said. All right, brothers and sisters, I had a lot of fun. This went long today, huh? All right, so I will see you all soon. Probably, like I said, either Wednesday or sometime by the weekend for sure. I'll probably definitely have one. Actually, yeah, I'll definitely have a show either on Friday, Saturday, or Sunday, but possibly Wednesday as well. So stay tuned. And if you got something from this and enjoyed it, feel free to like it. If you're new, subscribe, hit the bell. And from what I'm told, from what I'm told at least, I didn't realize my camera was all messed up. From what I'm told, if you hit like, apparently it gets into more people's feeds. I don't even know if that's true, but that's a way to possibly help the channel in a small way. Also, sharing any information that you find useful today with others would be great. If like you're on Reddit, or if you're on other forums, if you're in Discords or other Twitter, Facebook, all that stuff. Share it with like-minded people who might not otherwise know about the Soul Trap that you feel would maybe gain something. I think we have to have some sort of activism going on, and that's why I also encourage you all to consider doing your own video or content on this stuff, and have it, just make sure it's all rooted in sovereignty. That's in liberation and denying consent. Because I think that's, as long as that message is out there, I think people are gonna they're gonna get it, they're gonna see it, and then the journey from there is just a whole other thing, just especially if you're new to this stuff. But hey, all things come as you research them and take your time. So alright, I appreciate you all. Thank you for spending as much time with me as you have. I'm just blown away that so many have stuck around for almost the whole video, or even half the video. It's been so long. So much love and blessings to you all, and I will see you all soon. Much love, much love, much love. #LastTimers. I'll see you soon, guys and girls.